Okay, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Jazakallah khair for coming. We're going to start off with a Quranic recitation first. Some of you may remember on the hijab lecture I mentioned that as a woman I can't recite the Quran in public in front of men because they're not my mahrams. This is the whole reason why women don't do the adhan either, and they cannot lead the prayers. So just to signify that point, we've got a brother here today. He has been doing a tajweed course and he's been learning surahs of the Quran. So he would like to recite a surah for us.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair for that. Valentine's Day is coming up this week, so I thought we need to cover marriage in the halal way. It's very important. There are many teenagers out there who are going into Valentine's and doing all sorts, which is completely haram. That lecture I did last year, and it is on my YouTube channel if anybody wants to see it, which talks about Valentine's Day, the links with paganism, and why dating is haram. And basically what we're going to talk about today now is we're going to look at the Islamic side of marriage, and this is a very, very interesting lecture. We will look at the rituals, we will distinguish what is cultural and what is religious. We will also look at the rights of men and women within a marriage, because husband and wife, they have individual roles within Islam, and that is what then makes the whole system really, really strong and good boundaries there, and the whole Islamic system is based around those individual roles and responsibilities. We will be looking at dating, the qualities need to look for a potential spouse, meeting up in an Islamic way, right down to divorce. I'm a Muslim chaplain in a university, and I'm an alima within the community, and the most problems that I get coming my way are always to do with marriage, marital problems. The first, last time I talked about black magic, that was the second problem. The first problem is always about marriage problems. So we will be looking at divorce. We will also be looking at cultural crisis. There's a big crisis out there with the youths, which parents may not be aware of, but I am, because I work within that sector with youngsters, teenagers. There's all sorts going on. They actually are not even looking at the skin colour anymore and looking at their ethnicity. They just think they're white, British, English, and they're non-Muslim. People are getting into homosexuality. People are going into all sorts of haram, you know, fornication before marriage and that kind of stuff. So it is really, really bad at the moment what is going on. Also, I've got my own experience, 24 years of marriage. Everybody knows my husband goes everywhere I go. Obviously, I must do something right there for him to come wherever I go, and I go wherever he goes. We're always together, and that just shows a good marriage as well. So this marriage is actually, lecture is in 3 parts. We are going to be looking at before marriage, okay? Then we will be looking at during marriage, and then we will look at after marriage breaks down, all the problems. At the end there will be food. The food, mashallah, has been donated by an anonymous brother. And Inshallah, we will be able to eat afterwards as well. So let us all focus now on the pictures. There's lots of funny pictures today, so you can all have a bit of a laugh as well. I forgot to say, you can make notes. There are papers there on the side if you want to make notes. There's leaflets for you to take away at the end as well. Okay, so did you know that marriage in Islam is very, very important? And Islam was the first religion to make marriage a very high priority. Prophet Muhammad said, marriage is my tradition. Whosoever keeps away from it is not from amongst me. Okay? Now, who can tell me why Islam highly recommended marriage? I want you to think about this carefully. Why did Islam really strongly, highly recommend marriage? There are two reasons. Any ideas? Yes?
Because there was lots of widows of war.
Yes.
Who had nobody to, protect them. So
Good.
marriage is always
Yes.
recommended so that a man can take care of them.
Good. That is a very good one. The widows were actually becoming, men were taking them as prostitutes. They were being vulnerable, they were being taken as prostitutes. This is before Islam came. Okay? Their prostitution was rife, actually. There was all sorts going on. The servants, slaves were being taken as prostitutes. The prisoners of war were being taken as prostitutes. What is the other reason why marriage is very highly recommended?
Stay away from the illegal relationship.
Yes, good. That is what we are talking
Islamic
about.
way.
There's one more that was happening in the religion before. I don't know if this sister knows. What was happening in Christianity? Or are you a revert?
I am
And what religion were you before?
Church of England.
Right. What was
Normally.
happening in Church of England? What was happening in Catholicism?
There was big uproar in
Yeah.
Catholicism.
Yes. But what was happening with the priests and the vicars? Were they getting married?
No.
The monks? Celibacy was right.
Celibacy still is.
Celibacy still
degrees,
is. The
so
Catholic
people-
priests don't get married, and that's
That's
why
right.
they're all gay, because it's not
It's
natural
not a
to
problem,
be.
yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
this is a fact. So when Islam came, this is what was happening before Islam came, right up to Jesus' times in Arabia, the times before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was sexual slavery going on, there was prostitution going on, there was persecution of women. Widows died due to poverty as no one married them and looked after them. Fornication was rife. Polygamy was rife. Did you know people had hundreds of wives? And this is very, very important to understand. This is before Islam came. People had hundreds and hundreds of wives, including prophets. Apparently, Hazrat Solomon had nearly 1,000 wives. Slaves became mistresses, so if you had any slaves in your house or any servants, they became your mistresses without marriage. The prisoners of war became prostitutes, and celibacy was rife. Okay? So there were two reasons why marriage was introduced. It was to protect the modesty and chastity of women who were being used for fornication, which means sexual relationships outside of marriage, and they were being used as sexual slaves, prostitution. And the second thing is celibacy. So the monks were not getting married, priests and Catholic nuns were not getting married, because they thought you cannot practice the religion properly when you are religious, then you can't do both. So then they only chose to do.
They consider themselves married to God.
Yes, exactly, they did. Good. And when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came, everything changed. All sexual relations then happened within marriage, which is why marriage was very, very strongly recommended. And through marriage, respect, honor, dignity was given to women. And only legitimate halal way, marriage is the only legitimate halal way to indulge in intimacy between a man and a woman. And Islam greatly encourages to uphold family unit, which is very, very important. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he banned celibacy. There is no celibacy in Islam. Okay? Now, who can tell me only there is only one circumstance in which someone does not need to get married. Does anybody know what that is? If you're impotent, so if you haven't got any sexual desires and you're unable to make children, then you are excused for marriage, otherwise everybody has to try and get married.
Does that include women who are postmenopausal? Because you're unable to have children at that point.
Yes, I'm going to talk about that when we reach that stage. For the first time in Islam, it said, praise be to Allah who made marriage a noble tradition in Islam and a barrier between halal and haram. So in Islam, marriage is a way of life. You live life and you practice it. And you complete half of your deen. Did you know for the first time in Islam, marriage is actually half of your faith and completes half of the religion? And you can do both, unlike previous faiths, where monks and nuns were constrained to monasteries, they never came out. In Islam, we can get married and we can carry on our life as normal. Okay, and does anybody know what you should do if you cannot marry in the meantime? Fast, good. Because fasting, did you know, refrains you from bad automatically. Think of Ramadan. When we do Ramadan, it refrains us, doesn't it, from doing anything bad. And fasting actually stops the sexual urges as well. So Abdullah radiallahu anha reported that Allah's Messenger said to us, young men, those among you who can support a wife should marry, for it restrains eyes and preserves from immorality. But he who can't afford it should observe fast, for it's a means of controlling desire. And that is in Sahih Muslim, Book 8, Hadith 3233. Okay, and then it is the right of parents to marry children young. Why? There are two important reasons why it is very important for parents to marry their children young. Any ideas? Yes?
So they don't stray and get into bad habits?
Good, so they don't get into all the bad. Why else should children get married young? Any ideas?
Biological reason?
Good, well done. That's an excellent reason. Did you know that from the age of 12 onwards, every month a lady, when she's on her monthly cycle, an egg is released, okay? That means that she's actually ready then to have children. Otherwise, why would Allah make her reproductive system start? She's actually is ready to have children. So every month, did you know that a lady, she loses 12 eggs, and that's 12 eggs less from her whole lifetime. Okay? And the pattern of eggs is also in phases. So did you know that the eggs released towards the end of her lifetime are damaged eggs? They're old. Think of, we used to have a chicken in our back garden. We had her for 8 years. And towards the end of her life, when she was about 8 years old, her eggs never used to, the shell used to be really thin. And they used to break quickly. Okay? And then obviously, if you have children at a later age, I used to be a teacher of special educational needs, and the children always special needs. In fact, that's what the doctor used to always ask, that when did you have your children? And it was a lot of older ladies having children nowadays. So that is one. And the other one is that during your early 20s, the eggs are fresh and they will make good children. Good children. You're laughing there.
She needs to hurry up
What's that?
and get married.
Yes. You know this as well, because you work with special needs children, and you ask what age they might have had their children. So it is actually rife out there. And then that is the first reason. And the other reason is, the longer you leave it, the more they will get into haram. And in this country, free mixing is really rife out there. It's much bigger here. That's why there's so many problems. You're bound to end up doing something bad or seeing someone and all the rest. So why most parents risk their children falling in such forbidden relationships, and they try and get them married early. Some of them are even getting them married while they're at university. It's to protect your son and daughter's chastity. It is natural for fuel to ignite when put next to flame. Don't wait until it is too late. Okay? So the longer you leave it, the more this is going to happen. We showed this in our hijab lecture. There's going to be, flirting and all the rest going on while everyone is young. Remember, men have a tendency to find partners. Women have a tendency to dress up. We mentioned that in our hijab lecture. And all of that can then lead to fornication. We know that Islam prohibits fornication, which is sexual relationships outside of marriage. And we know that all of that then leads to hellfire and to zina, which is the very, very major sin in Islam. And then on top of that, in Islam, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did was He reinforced the laws of what happens to a fornicatress. The fornicatress and the fornicator, flog each of them with 100 stripes. Let not pity withhold you in their case. In a punishment prescribed by Allah, if you believe in Allah and the last day, and latter part if believers witness their punishment. This seems very, very strong, but it is there as a deterrent. It is there as a deterrent to stop the fornication happening in the first place. If you know that's going to happen to you, are you even going to go there? You're not even going to do it, are you? That's in Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse 2. And then, basically, you're worth more than... A husband wants to complete half of your deen, like we said earlier on. Islam actually completes your religion. It's half of your deen is marriage. And a boyfriend wants to destroy whatever deen you have. So don't glorify haram relationships. Either you're married or you're not. So this is actually the problem also with finding your own. Some children nowadays are growing up in Western culture and they're saying, don't worry, who are you? Why are you going to look for me? I'll find my own. But then are you not then delving into this haram when you find your own? Are you not going to talk to them? Are you not going to see them? Are you not going to go out with them? Okay? You're not going to do a Khadija radiallahu anha special, are you? Where you see the Prophet and then you go and you get your friend to ask him and then everything's done by the uncles. Those days, nowadays, the children don't know. So if you find your own, this is the problem. One asked her, why don't you have a boyfriend? She replied with confidence, why would I have a boyfriend? First, I am a believer and I can't displease my God. He ordered me not to have a boyfriend. Allah says in the Quran, nor those who take secret lovers. That's in Surah Nisa. We'll cover that in a minute in detail. Second, I am a daughter of a man who raised me up with a chaste woman. I am the sister of the man who is proud of my purity and who will do anything for my respect. I also don't want to disappoint my future husband, the father of my children, and I am born just for him. Third, I'm not an easy girl who is impressed with just some sweet words. Now, family honor does exist in Islam, and this is the other youth crisis. You go into college, you go into university, and they keep telling you about family honor, ignore your family honor. In the Quran, it mentions about family honor. When Maryam was just about to have her baby Jesus, and she came into the village, what did the people mock? Did they mock her or did they mock her parents? They said to her, your father was not a bad man, and your mother was a chaste woman. They attacked her parents. So if you do something wrong, it has a big image put on top of your parents. And in Islam, family is very, very strong. Family structure is very, very strong. So it is very, very important that, we think about this. And what about internet dating? Is that okay? That's halal, isn't it? Is that halal, do you think, internet dating? Because you're not seeing the person, are
No,
you?
your intentions are wrong.
Your intentions are wrong. Good. So here is an internet dater, a daughter, who says, Dad, I'm in love with a boy who is far away from me. I'm in Australia and he lives in the UK. We met on a dating website. Obviously, he's after a British passport, isn't he? Okay? And we became friends on Facebook, had long chats on WhatsApp. He proposed to me on Skype, and now we've had 2 months of relationship through Viber. Dad, I need your blessings and good wishes. Okay, so what do you think he says? He says, wow, really? Then get married on Twitter, have fun on Tango, buy your kids on Amazon, and send them through PayPal. And if you are fed up with your husband, sell him on eBay. Okay? So basically, what's that trying to prove is it's not a real relationship.
No.
It's completely false. Okay? So basically, in Islam, this is the only date that you can get in Islam. So on Valentine's Day, keep some dates in your pocket and you can give those out to people if someone asks you. What is haram is forbidden, will always be haram, even if the whole world engages in it. So marriage should not be put off or delayed, especially if one has the means to do so. Now, what if a couple do end up getting into haram and they do end up liking each other? What is the next bit? We're talking about this country, with before the stoning starts. They haven't committed fornication. They haven't committed fornication yet.
Get them to marry quickly.
Get them married.
Yeah.
Okay? Good. There is nothing better for two. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said there is nothing better for two who love each other than marriage. Narrated Hassan, any woman who gets married without the permission of her wali, her marriage is invalid. Now that's for the people who run away and don't get permission from their dads. What do you think is going to happen to them? If that marriage doesn't work out, how will then they go back to their dad? Did you know that when in Islam, if a woman's marriage doesn't go ahead or something goes wrong, it's the father then who helps her, brings her on the straight path, and also supports her with money and shelter and clothing. Is the father going to do that if the woman ran away and chose her own husband and ran away with him? No. There's no support. The support network is not there. So her marriage is invalid. Did you know Hassan said if any woman who gets married without the permission of her wali, that doesn't have to be your dad, it can be your granddad, or it can be your brothers, or it can be somebody else who is your mahram, then her marriage is invalid. He said it 3 times, her marriage is invalid, her marriage is invalid. Tirmidhi 1102, Abu Dawud 2083, and Ibn Majah 1879. And basically, if your father doesn't agree to the marriage, sometimes fathers get into strop and they say, no, we're not agreeing to that, you chose him yourself and I need you to choose your one. If it's a valid reason, and we will look at some of the valid reasons in a minute, then she can go to somebody else in her family to solemnize the marriage and say, yes, it's fine, like her granddad or her uncle. But somebody of religious knowledge. Why do I say that? If they don't have religious knowledge, they're going to just say, yeah, fine, aren't they? They have to have the religious knowledge, because in choosing a partner, there is a certain criteria, which I'm going to go through in a minute. Also, running away from home, does that not destroy your family honor? It destroys your family honor. And in Islam, your family is very strong, very close networks, and it can destroy your family honor. Family honor is very big in Islam. And I will say that again, because in the Western culture, that is definitely being destroyed at the moment. It's all about go against your parents, do what you like, you're your own person, you're an adult at this age, and all the rest. Okay? So leave him. If you love somebody, they should marry you if they're the right person. If they don't, you leave him, because if he is truly yours, then you will have him in halal eventually. So basically, if he doesn't marry you, obviously he's in there for other reasons, like the relationship that he wanted, which you're not supposed to give to him when you're not married. Okay? Does that make sense? There are many men out there, they will play around with girls, and then you ask them, marry me, I want to get married now, and they'll say, no, don't want to marry you, I'm still young and free and single and I need to work and this and that. They're excuses. Okay? So marriage is the proper way to establishing correct and permissible relationships between men and women. And here are the reasons why you should get married. 1, you're actually obeying Allah. Okay, you're completing half of your faith. You're following the sunnah of all the prophets. There was not a single prophet who did not get married. Jesus didn't get married, people say. The reverends say Jesus didn't get married. The poor thing didn't get a chance, did he? Just as he became young, he was lifted up to Jannah. But we believe as Muslims, when he comes down again, he will get married. We know that in the hadiths he's going to get married, he's going to have children as well. Okay, and protection from shaitan, obviously fornication and all the rest. Assistance with daily needs, e.g. home needs and things like that. We will look at the roles in a minute. Struggle with the nafs, it helps you with that. And progeny remain after you. Why was Adam and Hawa created? We've done the creation story. One, they were created to worship Allah. What was the second reason why people are created? To mate and have children. To procreate, I think you said, which is a brilliant word. You are created to procreate. Okay? So, also, if you are living in sin, if you do not choose to get married. So by getting married, you are displaying obedience to Allah. Okay? So basically, the other thing is that you can choose, like I said before, your own husband. We know Khadija radiallahu anha did choose Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but she did it in such a halal way. She saw him, she may have spoken to him just once, she told her friend to go and ask him, what do you think? He said, yes, I think I would like to marry her. And then straight away she went and told her old cousin, Waraka. And he went straight away and told his uncles. But it's not done like that nowadays, is it? Nowadays, tell me when that actually happens. Nowadays they'll mate, they'll go out dating, they'll go out partying. They've done everything basically before they've got married. And this is why marriages are breaking down. Because by the time you get married, there's no excitement left because you've done it all already. Okay, think of some of you who had arranged marriages. The first time your husband held your hand, it was so romantic. Because it was for the first time, wasn't it? You're laughing. When I went on my honeymoon, that was the first time my husband held my hand, and I thought, gosh, this is nice. Very exciting. But if I'd done all of that before, do you think I'd be excited? No. Okay, that's just an example. So women do have the right to choose their own husband, but it needs to be done in a halal way, and she still needs to have permission from her father. And she's not allowed to run away with him if the father says no. Okay? For all the reasons that I've already explained. So the best Islamic way is to have an arranged marriage. Arranged marriages are not forced marriages. This is something that is out in the schools, big time. Okay, nowadays, which parents need to be aware of. Arranged marriages are not forced marriages. They are not. Okay? That's what the West are telling your children. In fact, arranged marriages, did you know, are proven to last because it takes away all the lust and the sexual appeal, which blinds people when you're dating and finding them yourself, and it looks at the compatibility of the couple, which is going to last. Does that make sense? The compatibility is what is going to last in the end, not physical attraction. And parents also know best what is best for their children. They've given birth to you, so how are they not going to know what's best for you? Okay? Also, their children are parts of them. They are their gems. They will choose the best for you. They're not going to just choose any old person, are they, for their children? So basically, arranged marriages are the best and the most Islamic way, and even in this country, there was always arranged marriages. Did you know until the 60s? You look at aristocrat Victorians, they're only married within Victorians. The royal family, right up to Lady Diana, they were all arranged marriages. Okay? So the West makes fun of the Islamic way of marriage, arranged, yet statistically arranged marriages prove to be more successful and lasting than romantic courtship and love marriages. This is because people are blinded by the physical attraction and thus do not choose the compatibility of a partner. Arranged marriages, on the other hand, are based not on physical attraction or romantic notions, but rather on critical evaluation of the compatibility of the couple. Now, when we get married, there are a few people, kinds of people that we cannot look at in Islam or even think of marriage with them. Does anybody want to give me some ideas? Shall we have Jordan's dad?
Pagans.
Pardon?
Pagans. Atheists.
Good, good. Pagans, yes. You've used my favourite word there. Polytheistic. People from polytheistic faiths, good. Others, let's do some more. I think, brother, you had one, didn't you? Or did he answer your question?
No, yeah.
He answered it.
Yes.
Okay, there was a sister at the back there. Did you have an answer?
I was going to say the same.
Okay, anyone else? Come on. What else can you not marry?
Non-Muslim.
Okay, non-Muslim, but we will look at that in a minute. Any more?
Siblings.
Good, that's the one I'm after. You can't marry your dad, can you?
No.
Okay, so you are not allowed to marry people who are your mahrims, apart from your husband who's already becomes your mahrim when you marry him. Okay, so father, grandfathers for a girl, sons, grandsons for a girl, father-in-laws, brothers, stepfathers, even your foster brothers, foster, all of those people actually also who your mum has given breast milk to. They become your real siblings. And then for boys, they're not allowed to marry their daughters, granddaughters, stepdaughters, mother-in-law, that kind of stuff. Okay? All of that list. If anybody wants these slides, you just need to let me know at the end when we eat and I can send the slides to you. Okay, what else? There's another big rife one out there. What is going on in our schools? Gay. Are you allowed to marry the same gender in Islam? Not allowed at all. When looking for a partner, we do not look for the same gender. It is actually haram. Now people think, parents think this doesn't happen. There was a boy in this masjid in my madrasa. And what happened was there was an Eid party and I talked about someone from the audience. It was a mayor or somebody asked me that question and I said it's haram in Islam. And he came up to me crying afterwards and he said, I didn't know that gay is not allowed and I'm gay. And I was really upset about that. The next day in the madrasa I covered the Hazrat Lut alayhi salam story and after that I had a session with the parents. I had to. Because parents, they think this is a taboo subject, we mustn't talk to our children about this, it's haram, we can't talk to them about this. And then what happens? They become gay because in the schools it's all about equality. Everybody's the same. And I'm not just saying this, in my university there's an LGBT society, everywhere, gay is fine, gay, include gays. You have to tell your children. Gone are the days where you don't talk to your children anymore. So in Islam, gays are wrong. Why? They can't procreate. I love the words you're using there, the exact words that I use. So they cannot procreate. Why was Adam and Hawa created? Why wasn't it Adam and another bloke then? If Allah wanted it naturally to be like that. Only two female and a male can make children. And if you look around you, everything in nature makes children. The animals, they make children, don't they? You need a male and a female. When it was even in a flower, there's a male and a female part. If you look at Noah's Ark, why did Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam take a male and a female? Why did he do that then? He took a male and a female, put them on the boat so that they could procreate. What is the other very big reason why in Islam we do not agree with homosexuality? What is in the Quran? Which story?
Lot.
Good, Lot. Hazrat Lut alayhi salam's story clearly tells us, even it's in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah story as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a big calamity down on a whole village that was homosexuals. Now did you know, I'm glad there's children here today, and some of you parents must be thinking, oh my God, look at what she's talking about from the children. I have been in a 4-year-old class, a 4-year-old reception class. I went in there to observe a teacher, and I came out physically feeling sick, because she was telling the children about a story where a prince marries a prince. It's on the curriculum. It is actually on the curriculum. A prince marries a prince, and yes, it's okay, everybody. If you like a man and you're a man, then it's okay. And I came out feeling sick. So I didn't give her an outstanding, but I didn't tell her why. Okay, and the other one we've already had is any polytheistic religion. What did Islam come to get rid of? Idol worship. Okay, Islam came to get rid of paganism. And this is the reason we cannot marry a man who is from a polytheistic religion unless he becomes Muslim first. In Islam, the children follow the religion of the father. So if you marry a Hindu or a Sikh, the children will be a Hindu or a Sikh, okay? And that changes your whole lineage, the whole genealogy of your family honor, if you like, okay? So, and give not your daughters in marriage to al-mushrikeen. Mushrikeens are people who do shirk till they believe Allah alone, and verily a believing slave is better than a mushrik, even though he pleases you. Those al-mushrikeen invite you to the fire, but Allah invites you to paradise and forgiveness by His leave and makes His ayat clear to mankind that they may remember. That's in Surah Baqarah, verse 221. So polytheistic is not allowed, okay? But we can marry people from the book, but there's a big but, okay? It does tell you in the Quran, and permitted to you are chaste women, be they either from among the believers or from among those who have received the book before you. We mean monotheistic religions like Christianity and Judaism. Provided you become their protectors in wedlock after paying them their bridal due, which we will talk about in a minute, rather than go around committing fornication and taking them as secret companions. The work of he who refuses to follow the way of faith will go waste, and he'll be among the utter losers in the hereafter. Now, why is there a very big but here? Does anybody know? Yes?
Maybe because these religions still believe in like God, and they still have like the main meaning of like this.
The main meaning of?
They still have gods that they believe in.
Other gods, like who? Who are we talking about? Let's look at Christianity.
Jesus.
Jesus is the Son of God. Is that not shirk?
They don't follow the correct religion.
Yes, and they're believing that Jesus is God. Is that not shirk? And they're believing Jesus is the Son of God. There's a triple God there in their religion. In Judaism, Uzair is supposed to be the Son of God. Uzair was a prophet. It tells you in the Quran. So what you have to understand is they have to still be mu'mineen, as in worshipping the one God. They should be following Tawheed. And nowadays there have been journals proven out there, divorce rate is higher for mixed faith parents. We're not following the Quran, are we? Parents who are divorced or separated from mixed household and same-faith household. This is actually American journal, and Americans are a supernatural country, aren't they? Okay? And obviously, it does bring up the children mixed up, unless they become Muslim first. And that is actually the key. With the women of the book bit, actually, I forgot to mention, you know, the men, they have to be Muslim for a woman to marry, because the children follow the father. But for a father, he can marry women of the book, a Christian or a Jewish person, as long as they're not committing shirk. That bit is very important. Okay, but nowadays, and I will be talking about this with all the woman power out there, what do you think? Oh, the poor men don't get saved. Their mothers are the dominant figures. So, honestly, in the West, it's completely different. We will talk about those problems in a minute. The women are the ones who wear the trousers, so they're going to bring up the children according to them. So that's why it's equally important, really, that they are Muslim. Okay, the other thing is we are allowed to marry a different colour, either within our own ethnicity or within different ethnicities. We know that Prophet Muhammad said that all mankind is from Adam and Eve, and Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. Also, white has no superiority over black, and nor a black has any over a white. And you are allowed to marry different colours, but also there are huge cultural differences sometimes that we need to keep in mind, because when a couple get married, if the culture is completely different, it is more harder, much more harder. I know somebody who is from, where is she from, Jhelum, and she married a Kashmiri bloke, and it was totally different culture. The food was different, the language was different. And in Islam, it's not just a marriage of the couple, it's the marriage of families as well. And if the families don't get on, the marriage is not going to be so strong. I'm not saying that it's not going to go well like this, but on the whole, I mean, we have got some good examples there. We've got a good example there of a very recent mixed race marriage, which the Queen actually said, yes, go ahead and do, which is the first in history. But let's see, only time will tell, won't it? Only time will tell. So basically, we have to be careful, and everything needs to be looked at, okay? Now, what other kind of spouse can we find to get married to? What is the first criteria that the Prophet said we have to look at?
Piety.
Piety, religion. Now, which one of you men married your wives because, oh, they looked pretty? Okay, that is the biggest mistake. You're putting your hand up, and I know about your history as well. That's why that's all happening, by the way. Because are you looking at their personality? You're looking at their looks, and that's going to fade with time. And the Prophet himself said, okay, a woman is married for 4 reasons. Okay, she can be married for her beauty, her family, her religion, but seek the one who is religiously committed. So basically, beauty isn't about having a pretty face, it's about having a pretty mind, heart and soul. And I know so many men out there, I'm telling you, I see all in the community. They marry their wives because they look nice, and later on they marry them, they think, do you know what, we've got nothing in common with her. It's only the looks I looked at, and that fades. They all get fat and they all get old and ugly. Everybody does. Don't they? Everyone get old and ugly as you past your prime years. We talked about this in the hijab lecture, didn't we? We talked about the middle-age spread, the waist being slim and everything, and then it gets fatter. Okay, so understand what I'm saying. If she is not on the deen, she can't be my queen. That's what you men should be saying, instead of your heads going away and, you know, you getting attracted to ladies who are pretty. So real love doesn't care about body type, model, looks, or wallet size. It only cares about what is inside. A pretty face gets old, a nice body will change, but a good woman will always be good. And we all know that a leopard never changes its spots, does it? Us girls know that with the men, don't we? So if you're pious to begin with, you're not going to change, okay? Whereas if it's the looks you're looking at, look at what's happened to her. She's gone fat, and look at him, he's gone bald. If you're looking for a hunk, look at what's happened to him then. Okay? He's lost all his hair. When getting married, some people try to look for beauty and do not pay attention to other things. Dear brothers and sisters, remember that outer beauty may fade away, but the glow of inner beauty and piousness will illuminate your life and hereafter. Beauty is not in the face, and this is why I said about arranged marriages, you're looking at the compatibility, not at the beauty there, and that's why those last more. Okay. People who are attracted to you because of your pretty face and nice body will not be by your side forever. I know this as well. People who are attracted to beautiful faces, they then go for a younger model when their wife gets fat and old and ugly. But the people who can see how beautiful your heart is will never leave you. A handsome guy and a pretty girl will make a beautiful wedding, but a faithful man and a pious woman will make a beautiful marriage. And marry someone who will increase your iman, marry a practicing Muslim. So we're looking at a different wow here. I like this. When I saw you, I was like, wow. Okay, which kind of wow are we looking at here? We're looking at an Islamic wow, not the other kind of wow. So say wow for the religion. Say, wow, that person's practicing. And marry someone who will encourage you, elevate your iman, and most importantly, bring you closer to Allah. And as we go along through the marriage, we will see just how important these factors are. One of the greatest blessings a Muslim can receive in this world is a religious and pious spouse. Does anybody know especially why the husband has to be religious?
He's the leader, isn't he?
He's the leader of the
Yeah.
flock, and his children will follow the
Yeah, he's
father.
supposed to teach
Okay.
children. He's supposed
Yes.
to teach his children.
Maybe.
Yes. Okay. These are the other things which men have to look for when they marry a woman, apart from a piety. Somebody who will help her husband in his faith and religious commitment. Again, I see husbands who are trying to pray 5 times a day and the wife isn't. The marriage isn't secure then. It's not the same as all of you doing everything the same, if you know what I mean. You're at different levels. Okay? Has good etiquettes and knowledge of her deen, will guard her husband's wealth and herself in his absence, has sound belief, correct aqidah, does acts of worship and obedience to Allah, refraining from haram things, will make her husband happy when he looks at her. We talked about this in the hijab lecture. You're supposed to dress up at home for your husband, will obey her husband when he enjoys what is right, and is religiously committed. Okay? Apart from that, a good mother for your children. I explained in the hijab lecture that men look for wide hips, didn't I? Remember? And that's because someone with wide hips is going to give you more healthier children. You naturally look for that. You need to look for a kind and caring personality, someone who can mother you as well as the children. If you've got a selfish person, they're not going to look after your children well, or you as well. Okay? And also, other things you may want to look at is, do they even have any friends? There's some women, they only mix in their family, they don't have any friends, or they make forts with every other person. They don't go to social events, so then you know that person isn't a good person, because nobody likes them and they don't like anyone. Okay, I've seen this as well. At the beginning I mentioned I'm a Muslim chaplain, and I do actually see these problems in the community. So that's your chance to look, not just at a face. Find out if you've got something in common, and having things in common is important as well, because then when you come home after an event and things, if you talk to your wife about things, she's not even going to know who you're talking about. She's not going to be interested, is she? This is actually very important. You need somebody who's got the same interests as you, who can go with you to all the places with you. Yeah, like my husband I keep giving an example of. It's a good example. Everywhere he goes, I'm with him. Everywhere I go, he's with me. And if there's somewhere he doesn't want to go, he'll still come to support me. And everywhere I don't really want to go, I'll still go to support him. And that makes a strong marriage, because then when I come home, if somebody's done something bad to me, like the mosque committee, I can tell him and he knows exactly who it is who I'm talking about. Yeah? And otherwise you go home, oh, you know, Tom at the mosque, he said this to me today. Oh, who's Tom? Don't really care. Yeah? Do you understand? The intimacy is not there. So these things are very, very important. It's also important for the family to get on. Like I said, family structure is very strong in Islam. The compatibility needs to be there. And culture is important. It is important, no matter how much we try and hide it. There's 2 types of culture. One type of culture is people who follow bidah, like Hindu customs, which we're going to talk about in a minute. That you can delete and get rid of. But what about the other culture, like food and clothes, okay, and language? Some people want people from within that culture to carry on the progeny, especially in the Western world, where we are losing everything. Bengalis, mashallah, are very, very good at that. They will try and find a spouse who speaks Bengali, who is the same kind of tradition and that kind of stuff. It helps with the compatibility of the couple. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but it definitely helps with the bonding of the families as well. And we know psychologically you like people who are like yourself as well, okay? What other things do you need to ask after all of this? What do men like? And I don't want you to say women, because I'm looking for another answer here. What do you like when you get home? Someone said it here. Food. So is it a wrong question to ask? Can you cook? Do you know the first question my husband asked me when I met him? Can you cook? That's what he asked me. Nothing else. He didn't want to know about anything else. He already knew about everything else. He knew the family was pious. He knew I was pious, mashallah. But he asked me, can you cook? So it is not a wrong thing to ask, cook, can you
What
cook?
was your answer?
Yes, of course. A lot of people think I don't do my household duties. If I'm so busy outside doing all this, what do you think at home I'm going to be sitting around? Think about it. I do everything at home as well. Okay? So my answer was yes, and I'm still feeding him. Haven't you seen his belly? If he is slim, he's naturally slim because he's tall, but he does like his food. So, what you can't say is, look at that family's asking them about cooking, and they go, she can't cook but knows how to order online. That is not going to go down well with our community. Because like I said, first of all, a man likes, you know, they say that you fall in love through a man's stomach. There's a saying, and I can't think of it.
Through his stomach.
The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So they like their food, okay? So it's a question which is odd for Westerners, but not for Islam, okay? And the future role of feeding the kids. If you've got a wife that can't even cook, how's she going to feed your children? Okay, so, and Asian men, they do like their Asian food as well, don't they? So, I just can't stand it, and I've had crying mothers saying to me, this rishta came round, and our daughter, when the mum asked, can you make Asian food, she said, no, I only make pasta. That's not what the mother-in-laws want to hear, and it's not the truth either. You can say, oh, I make English food, but I also know how to make biryani and meat and this and that as well. That's what will be the bonus point. And there's a lot of girls losing good rishtas because they're being a bit too honest or trying to play themselves down. Okay? Same with clothes as well. You know, I do wear English clothes at work, but I wear Asian clothes as well. This is what the families want to hear because we're trying to hang on to our culture. This is why your mum tells you no one will marry you if your roti is not round. Okay? So your roti needs to be round before you get married so that you can then help in the house. And you remember, when you marry into a family, you're going to be, obviously you're going to come across them as well. You can't just, it's not like Western culture where you just leave the family and that's it, you're not going to see them again. So learn some Asian cooking. The other thing you can look at is someone who makes you laugh. We know that a sense of humour helps. So brothers, our Prophet, peace be upon him, told Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, marry someone who makes you laugh and you make her laugh. So laughter, the laughter of our spouses is one of the best sounds in life. Always try to make them smile and keep them happy, inshallah. Okay, so the families have chosen him now. Now it's time for the girl and the boy to meet each other. Are they allowed to do this?
No.
They are allowed?
Outside the house?
No.
No. This is outside the house. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ recommended the suitors see each other before going through with the marriage, so they are allowed to see each other. But you are only allowed to meet with a mahram there. A brother is a good example, girls. You get your brother in the room with him, the father's going to be too busy talking with the father. Okay? So this kind of thingy is haram. And if you do meet him, no man is alone with a non-mahram woman, but the shaitan is the third one present. That's in Tirmidhi, and I did discuss that in my hijab lecture as well. So it's very linked. So basically not allowed to be alone in a room. If there is a room, leave the door open if there's no mahrams around. And definitely not in a public place. Okay? And do not be fussy. This is something else I've seen. Girls and boys, see so many girls and boys, so much freedom out there, they are being extra fussy. They like that face, but that body and that deen and another person's sense of humour. And they're trying to look for a complete person. But did you know, the man dreams of a perfect woman and the woman dreams of a perfect man, and they don't know that Allah created them to perfect one another. Isn't that amazing? And this is how sometimes you do end up, even in arranged marriages, where you're super organised, you're OCD, and the man's a scat brain, and you wonder, how on earth did Allah put me with him? But that's because both of you together make a whole person. Okay? Some of you rubs off on him, some of him rubs off on you. So too much free mixing is bad, and also the more people you look at, the worse it gets. It's like when you buy a house. The more houses you look at, the more fussier you get with your house. I like the windows of that house and I like the door of that house. The less you look at, the better. Okay? Also, do not look for a perfect husband or wife. It's you who complete the other half. Remember, you are half of him. You've heard of your other half, haven't you? So sometimes the traits can be a little bit different. Okay? And did you know that no matter what you do, if it's in your fate, you will end up with your partners, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already made your partners in Jannah. So my husband, a gift from Allah and from up above. Alhamdulillah, little do they know, Allah sealed their fate with each other before they were even born. And good women are for good men, and women and purity are for men of, and women of purity are for men of purity, and men of purity are for women of purity. That's in Surah Nur in the Quran, chapter 26. So it is very, very interesting how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has even chosen already your partners according to your piety as well. Remember when I did the creation lecture, I said everybody was made up there. So your partners were up there as well, bowing down to Allah that day. Okay, you found your perfect person now. Okay, he or she is very similar to you in terms of hobbies and all the rest. Okay, you've chosen them because of piety. They may be a little bit different, but it's still okay, you're compatible, they make your other half. What is next? What's next in Islam?
Marriage.
Marriage. What about engagement? No, why not?
No.
It's not allowed. It's not a nikah, is it? Okay? So an engagement is not allowed in Islam because you are not legally married and you can result in doing fitna. Okay? Some people, they have an engagement and then they go in out partying and all the rest again. Not allowed. Okay? So no engagement. What about mendi?
Mendi, yes.
Mendi?
It's Sunnah, isn't it?
Yeah, but what about mendi as in girls and boys dancing out? And
No, it's not allowed. No.
Not allowed,
It's allowed.
okay? So, a traditional mendi, the way I see it, is a Hindu tradition, did you know? Okay? So culture came from people, religion came from Allah. So remember, when you choose culture over religion, you are choosing people over Allah, okay? So a traditional mendi, as in the oil going on the head and all the Hindu customs, the money going around the head and then you put it in a pot. Hindus do that to their gods, by the way. Food, bless the food and all that, not allowed. But like you very rightly, correctly said, that we mentioned this in also again in the hijab lecture, that mendi is a sunnah and it is fine for a woman. In fact, narrated Aisha, a woman made a sign from behind a curtain to indicate that she had a letter from the Messenger of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ closed his hand saying, I do not know this is a man's or a woman's hand. She said, no, a woman. He said, if you're a woman, you would make a difference to your nails, meaning with henna. That's in Abu Dawood 4166. So yes, it is a sunnah, and mendi, if you do it in a halal way with only girls, you can do the dolki but only amongst girls, you can sing but only amongst girls, then yes, mendi, a dolki night is called nowadays. That is allowed. But traditional mendi, with all the Hindu customs, is not allowed. Mayo is another one. Mayo is when you put the yellow updan over yourself. That is a Hindu custom, big time. Not allowed to do that. Okay? So now we're ready for the wedding. And we need to look at the very important customs which Islam put in place for the first time, because women were being badly abused before Islam came. So here are the times again before Islam came. Here are the times before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Women were traded and married off as part of business deals, using them, basically. Big dowries were taken from the bride's family. Okay, 100 camels. You give me your daughter, and I want 100 camels. That was going on. And forced marriages were happening within tribal castes. Remember, the Quraysh tribe were high and rich. They only can marry within the Quraysh tribe. Okay, and the lower castes, the Quraysh tribe wouldn't even look at them. The caste system was happening before Islam came. So extra bad was happening, and fine-tuning of the rituals of marriage and giving women rights and stopping them being abused were then introduced when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came. And here is what happened. Women were given many Islamic rights to stop them being used. So the very first one is forced marriages. We will look at this first, but then I will also tell you what is going on at the moment. Okay? So forced marriages are not allowed in Islam, and the way Islam stops that is who is asked first when you get married, the girl or the boy.
The girl.
How many times?
3 times.
3 times. And if she says no on any of those occasions, what happens? The family honor goes down the gutter and the marriage is off, and everybody says, it's go home, everybody. The marriage is over. It's a Bollywood film special. Okay. So narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, I asked the Prophet, oh Allah's Apostle, should a woman be asked for consent to her marriage? He said yes. I said a virgin if asked feels shy and keeps quiet. He said her silence means her consent. So this is basically getting consent before you get married. That is in book 85, hadith 79, that's Bukhari. O you who have believed, it is not lawful for you to inherit women by compulsion. This was happening before Islam came, where tribes were saying you're only marrying this tribe. Also, did you know that narrated Khansa, what happened was there was a lady and she came up to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said that she disliked that marriage because her dad had forced her, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that that marriage is actually invalid. That is actually in Bukhari in the book of marriage. So in Islam it is haram to force your child to marry whom you want as a parent. In fact, it's a great sin. But shall I tell you what is happening nowadays? There's absolutely nothing wrong with the boy, and the girls are saying no for absolutely no reason. And also, an arranged marriage is not a forced marriage, and the way the West are portraying is that it's a forced marriage. And family honor, there's all these things that if you're family honor, you don't need to keep up your family honor. The parents don't know this, but it's only at the university level that somebody would know this. So it is important, really, that you explain that to your children. And like I said, it's completely going the other way nowadays. Do you know that? Completely going the other way. Too much girl power out there. Honestly, we didn't have any girl power before Islam came. Now we've got it, and I think women are abusing the system. And it's hard for me to say that, being a woman up here, but that is what I see. Over the top. No, I don't want to marry that bloke, even when there's nothing wrong with them. They're pious, they're the same age, the same colour, the same everything. Oh no. You know, just because they want to sort of gain a bit of power. So it's really, really bad. How else did using women stop? One of the things I mentioned there was that huge dowries were being given to the bride's family. How did that stop in Islam? Huge dowries which the bride's parents had to give. What did Allah do? Come on, put your
Husband
hands
has to
up.
give meher.
Meher. Who gives it?
Husband.
The husband.
To the wife. Yeah.
This is a big, big, important thing. Do you know what's happening in nowadays marriages? The dowry system's still going, which Allah stopped, the Prophet stopped, and meher, nobody even knows about it. So did you know that meher is very, very important? It's one of the rights. The Muslim women have a right to marriage gift. The groom has to give a gift to the bride, and this concept stops the groom using the woman, which was happening before Islam. Again, in Hindu culture, by the way, this is when you're giving huge amounts of dowry. This was happening before Islam in polytheistic religions. So it is very, very important, and it's happening again in the Asian subcontinent. And it is actually her haqq, and give the woman upon marriage the bride who gives graciously, but if they give up willingly to anything of it, then take it in satisfaction and ease. It's actually in Surah Nisa, a whole chapter around women, chapter 4, verse 4. So it is very, very important that we do ask for that, okay? And did you know that women can specify how much they want? Because that meher money actually helps them then if they end up getting divorced. So this is actually a very, very important concept. There is bribing going on nowadays. Did you know that men are still bribing women? My son's a doctor, and if you want to marry him, £10,000, please. And a car and a house as well. This is going on in our cultures. It was narrated that Abdullah bin Amr who said, the Messenger of Allah said, curse the woman who gives a bribe and the one who takes it. Curse the one who gives a bribe and the one who takes it. That's in Abu Dawood, the Book of Judgments, Volume 4, Hadith number 3580. So, to protect the woman, what is there in place to make sure the man does give that meher money? Does anybody know about this? This is another thing nobody knows about, by the way. The women don't know. What is it?
Can you repeat it, please?
What is actually written down and to make sure the man has to
It's on
give
the
it?
certificate. It's on the
Yes.
bottom certificate.
Yeah, what is that called? Do you know?
I can't remember, but it's written there.
Who's heard of a nikah nama?
That's it. That's it.
Nikah nama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girls, this is so important. You can specify what you like, and then women get the priority to write what they want in there, including properties, just in case something goes wrong. And did you know that is recognized in the courts here? Do you know why? Because it's signed by witnesses, and it is there too as an evidence that that is what the promise was. Okay? So the nikah nama is a written document that two Muslim partners entering into a civil union must put their signature on in order to legalize their marriage. Under the Muslim Family Laws Ordinance 1961, it is the legal evidence of the said union and lays out the rights and obligations agreed upon by the bride and groom. So on there you write them out meher, just in case the husband says afterwards, I didn't say I'm giving you however much money. Prompt deferred, okay? So basically prompt or deferred, we're looking at meher. Does he give it to you straight away? Most meher money is given to you on the wedding night. Okay, some people actually give jewelry, it's called mudkhai. That's part of the meher as well. And some defer it and say, no, you give us kids first and then we'll give you the meher. So it's better to have prompt to be written in there. And divorce, okay? Also a second wife as well. So you can write in there, in that nikah nama, that we don't want our husband to marry again as a second wife. You can write that in the contract.
Is it not against Islam?
No. If you write it in here, as long as it's not against Islam, it's a choice, you see, that's not fard. It's a choice, not fard. Yes.
Is that allowed to say, give me children first if I get your mahram?
You know what? It's an example, but there is a such thing as deferred meher. There is a such thing. He might say, no, you know, I'm not going to give it to you yet. Let's see how you perform first, and then I'll give it to you. But it's up to. But it's up to the girl to say, no, I don't want that written in there. It's a mutual agreement that the husband and wife do together. Okay? And I'll tell you something else really bad, which you told me, was they tell you how much meher to put in there. That is not allowed. You only write there £30. Okay? So that's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to tell you what you want in there. It is up to the husband and the wife. Now that nikah nama goes to the sheikh first, before you have your nikah, and it is signed and agreed by him that it's all Islamic. That brings me up to what you said.
Can I just, sorry to...
Yes. Yes.
You know, is it not going like, if a woman is putting kind of condition,
Yes.
is it not going against the Surah Nisa chapter 4? Then Allah said you can take 1, 2, 3, 4.
But it's optional.
Optional,
Yeah.
yeah.
2, 3, 4.
But she can write in there.
It's not 1, 2, 3, 4.
No,
You can
no,
take
no,
2,
you
3,
can-
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will cover that in a minute, by the way, because we haven't got to where the problems happen and then the man says he wants to marry again. So we are coming to that bit. But what she could, for example, write is if he does have a second wife, then he has to ask me first, or at least tell me about it. Okay? So it all depends. The sheikh, if it is against Islam, will say then that no, this is against Islam, we can't have this. This is why the nikah nama needs to go to the sheikh first, the one who is going to solemnize the marriage. Okay? And a lot of people don't know about this. How many women actually even know here how much meher money they got? Do you know, I had a heart attack when I found out about this, and I opened up my nikah certificate. I was given away for £30. Someone like me is a real gem to have. £30 is written on my nikah now. I nearly had a heart attack.
It's a gift. You're not giving away from that. Not being bought and sold.
But you know what, I mean, I'm just cracking a joke. You know me, I like to have a bit of sense of humour. That's what keeps the audience awake.
Maybe in those years, £30 is high value.
It wasn't that long ago, brother. I'm still young. Okay, what's next? We got the nikah nama sorted out. The sheikh said it's fine. The woman can have £10,000. What's next?
Solemnized the
The nikah.
Yeah.
The nikah. Now, did you know that the nikah ceremony the girl does? And that's why it's supposed to be kept as simple as possible. This is again to stop women being used, which was happening before Islam came. But the walima, which we'll come to in a minute, which is what the boys' side do, they can spend a bit more lavishly. Again, it's to stop women being used. So the most blessed nikah, marriage ceremony, is the one with the least expenses spent on it. When nikah becomes expensive, zina becomes cheap, so keep wedding as simple as and affordable as possible. Okay? So it is very important that 2 witnesses are there when you do your nikah, and your father can be there, but he can't ask you, why not? Just in case he's forcing you and he's got a gun behind your neck saying, marry him, marry him. Okay? This is to stop any forced marriages. And this actually really puzzled me when I got married, because my dad was standing there smiling, and there was this unknown man asking me, and I just didn't get it. I thought, why isn't my dad asking me? I didn't get it. Why is my dad just standing there? Why is he not asking me? Then afterwards I found this out, and that's when I realised. So it's not the father who asks normally to stop them being used. There is actually now journals to prove that big weddings end up as short marriages. The more you spend on a wedding, the more likely it is that you will divorce, because you're doing the marriage for money reasons, not for piety or for anything else. So keep the nikah as simple as possible, because the girl's side is doing it, and there is the references down there at the bottom. Okay, this is the relationship between wedding expenses and marriage duration. And as you can see, as the money goes higher, the divorce rate goes higher as well. Okay, then the girl is asked 3 times, and then the man is asked once, and this has to be done in front of witnesses, and you have to sign the contract. This then completes the nikah ceremony, and at this point, again, to keep the female's identity, she does not need to change her surname. She doesn't belong to the husband's family, she has her own genealogy. According to Islam, you keep your own surname. Prophet Muhammad said, whoever calls himself by other than his father's name will be cursed by Allah. That's in Ibn Majah. And he also said, whoever knowingly claims to belong to anyone other than his father, paradise will be denied him. That's in Ahmed, Bukhari, and in Muslim. And this is so that her own genealogy can be traced, and she does not become property of her in-laws. She is her own person. If some of you did change your surname and without knowing, I did because I didn't know, you can still do certain things which makes sure you use your dad's name. For example, people who know me on a personal level, my Facebook account, my website, my YouTube channel has got Qadir in it, which is my dad's name. My dad's name is Abdul Qadir, which is a lovely name. Okay, but the problem now I've got is if I change my surname now, people will think I'm divorced. And then people will point their fingers at who's the man who's always with you. Okay, so I have to be really careful. So I've kept my surname, but I do use my dad's name a lot in all my sort of YouTube channels and all the rest. Okay, apart from this, I cannot tell you enough about this. It is extremely important that you have a civil marriage in Britain. You are not married according to English law. Okay, so if you want a divorce, if you want to end up doing anything else, it's a very, very big problem. A lot of communities are not doing the English civil marriage to try and get flats on their single wives' names and then putting it on for rent. I know that because my dad lives in East London and he tells me that some communities that deliberately don't get married according to English law because what they're doing is they are then scrounging off the council. Free family allowance and life insurance and all the rest.
Is that a
Single
particular,
parent allowance.
is that a particular religious community or just a...
I'm not going to say that.
Okay,
The Muslim community are doing
Okay.
it.
yeah, okay.
There is one particular community that's doing it, but I'm not saying it here
Okay.
because I'll get shot. All married Muslim women have had a nikah religious marriage ceremony, but 61%, did you know, do not bother having the separate civil ceremony, which would make the marriage legal under UK law. So any properties, you've got nothing. You've got nothing. You're not married according to English law. And there's no Sharia law here, is there? This is brilliant for abroad with Muslim laws, but not in this country. Yes.
What about second wives? How can they have a civil ceremony? That would be difficult. This is all
Yeah.
if the man is married in a
Yeah.
Muslim marriage and in a
They
British
wouldn't then
marriage,
have the British.
they can't. The
They
second
wouldn't,
wife
yeah.
can't have the civil ceremony under British law.
Yes, she wouldn't, and
So
she
she's
would
not
then not
protected.
have any rights.
Yes.
But when we come to lots of wives, we'll know that in Islam they have to be treated equally. So it will then be up to the discretion of the husband, wouldn't it? Okay, did you have a question?
Yeah. The danger with, particularly nowadays, is
Yes.
that if you go for the civil marriage,
Yes.
woman's put in a sort of an advantage because she can sort of maybe, take half of the man's, wealth,
Yes.
which necessarily doesn't happen with an Islamic contract marriage.
Yes, correct.
And then, as we know, there are gold diggers out there.
Yes.
And there are, you would probably know,
There
women who are
is.
just divorcing serially to just keep on piling up collecting man's wealth.
Yeah.
I've heard of these
Now
cases.
that is a very good point,
Yeah.
but in a minute I'm going to tell you all the rights women have got.
Yeah.
And you will then see that they are at a privilege anyway,
Mhm.
whether they go through the English marriage or not. But the English marriage keeps a woman secure more, I would say. But it is important.
Yeah.
It
Right.
is so
I
important.
mean, I need to say that there are many male gold diggers as well. There
Yes.
are not just female gold diggers, there are male gold diggers.
There's both.
There's
there's
both. It's
both.
not just a female prerogative, it is
Yes.
a male prerogative as well.
Yes, it's both. And
It's both.
in a minute, when we do the problems within marriage, we're at the nikah stage here, girls. We haven't got to the honeymoon stage yet. Okay, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Questions we'll do at the end, or before we get to divorce, we'll do questions. Okay? Right. I need to go on. I need to carry on because I'm worried about the time. Okay. So now everything's all lovely, and now they can have their nikah, and yes, we can have duff, and we can have music, but without musical instruments. Okay, so Duff is allowed. The big doll is allowed because it's a drum. Okay, as long as people don't start dancing with it, but a doll is allowed in a wedding ceremony. Traditionally, Islamically, they should wear white. Okay, the red comes from China, which is a good luck color. Red is a good luck color in China, and it leaked into India, which is next door to China, and then people started wearing red. But there is no sin if you do wear red, because Aisha also did wear red at her wedding. Okay, so it's okay, you can wear red if you want to, but most Arabs, the ones who are following the proper religion, I've even seen the Bengali communities are beginning to wear white because they're following the exact sunnah of the wives. So you can wear white. Okay, and there is, who can recognize who that couple is? Okay, there's Kate and, what's the name there? Kate and William there. Ring you do not need in Islam. I put that up for a reason, because he didn't use a ring. Okay, so it's not anything to do with Islam, whether you wear a ring or you don't, but if you want to, you can. That is actually, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did wear a silver ring. Okay, and there is another ceremony with milk, which I thought I would put up, because this is actually Islamic. Did you know when you drink milk, the couple drink milk from the glass? Did you know that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he got married to Aisha, then milk was given, and it's in the Quran that milk is one of the very, very good drinks. So yes, you can have milk, but there's other thingies there where sometimes you try and get money off the poor husband. And by the time you've finished, he's given all the meher money that he was supposed to give to her. The whole meher money is doubled. Okay, so we have to be careful with that kind of stuff. Sometimes it is over the top, and you can get weddings where the girls are over the top trying to get money off their husbands. If you do anything like what my husband did, he had monopoly money there. He had a sense of humour, and he got monopoly money and he twirled it up inside real notes. So my sister, who took money off him, thought it was real money, and then she got home and we found out it was monopoly money. So jokes and things are fine, you know. That showed he had a sense of humour, which I didn't know before I got married, but I did find that out on the day. But there's other things, like when they get his shoes and they hide it. Has anybody heard of that one?
Yeah.
Happens in Pakistan.
Yeah.
You hide the shoe and then you get money of them to get the shoe back. That really isn't allowed, because that's a bit like an April Fool's joke, isn't it? So that's not really allowed. Okay, they've done their nikah, now what's next? Let's keep it halal for now, please.
Getting to know each other.
Pardon? Not yet. Not yet. Stage by stage.
Just like getting to know each other.
Not yet. They're still in the wedding hall.
Okay.
Have some food.
Yeah, food, yes. But limited, because it's the nikah. For the walima, there'll be more food. What happens at the end? Come on, who's had a wedding here? Who's had rukhsati? Now, at the rukhsati, what happens to the bride? She cries out her eyes. Why does she do that? Because in the religion before, they then belong to their husband's family, and they don't even go back again and can't even eat or drink from their father's husband, so they start bawling their eyes out. This is what a Hindu custom. I don't know if anybody's been to a Hindu wedding, and they actually get rice bowl. I went to one, you're nodding your head, so you must have been to, and they throw it behind. And what that signifies is that's their father's food, which they ate from their father's house, which they are now putting behind them. And they're not going to eat again now from their father's house. What a load of rubbish. Okay, so it tells you in the Quran, this was happening before Islam. The pagan concept was once you leave your parents' house, you don't go back again, you never go around again, and you don't eat from there. In the Quran, it was revealed there's no restriction if you eat from your houses or the houses of your fathers or the houses of your mothers. That's in Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse 61. Okay? Then what? You don't cry, you're calm. I mean, you are going to be sad a little bit. She leaves and goes to the husband's house, and then what? What does she do there? I definitely did this, yes. Say it again. Reads the Quran. That's a very good thing. Okay, that is a very, very good thing. When you go around the house, you read the Quran. The closer you get to Allah, the closer you are to each other.
And 2 rakats of nafil, you know.
Yes, you can do that as well. That is a lovely way to start a wedding, isn't it? Okay? And then I'm not even going to ask you, obviously, that it's actually, did you know, the nikah, which then starts the contract where they can get intimate with each other. So narrated Uqba bin Amir, Allah's Apostle said, from among all the conditions which you have to fulfill, the conditions which make it legal for you to have sexual relations, i.e. the marriage contract, have the greatest right to be fulfilled. And that is actually, you are then halal for each other. The Messenger of Allah said, if a man calls his wife to his bed and she refuses and he spends the night angry with her, the angels curse her until morning. That is in Bukhari and Muslim. Girls, you don't need to fret. You don't have to do it on the first day, but it's recommended within 7 days. Because obviously, with arranged marriages, you don't know the partner and the sexual attraction may not have been built up yet. It is not permitted for a woman to fast when a husband is present without his permission. That's in Bukhari 4899 and Muslim 1026, and it is for this reason, because when you're fasting, then you can't sleep with them. So there they are. Your wives are a tilth for you. This is a very important right that men have, and it is actually in the Quran. Your wives are a tilth for you. So approach your wives when and how you like, but take heed of your ultimate future and fear God and know that you shall meet him and give good tidings to those who obey. That is in Surah Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 2-3. A husband is actually compared to a farmer here who sows the seeds by going to his tilth and not anywhere else. And secondly, it's really, really lovely the way this is described, because in this case we're looking at children come out from the seeds that the farmer is mowing the lawn and putting the seeds in. And then out of the seeds the children are coming. So it's pointed to a good farmer. A good farmer respects and cherishes and protects and enjoys his farming land. So should a husband respect and cherish and protect and enjoy the company of his wife. And just as farmer is pleased that his land produces a good yield, a husband should be pleased that his wife will give him good offspring. So it is a lovely, lovely concept which the Westerners have actually attacked. If you want to know more about sexual relationships and things, there is a book here which I actually wrote a chapter for, and this is because of the new stuff that's coming out in the curriculum where they are teaching sex education at a very young age in schools, too early, okay? And also the homosexuality problem. So there is a book out, it's called The Quranic Approach to Sex Education, and yes, I did write one chapter in here which I was asked to write to do with sexual education within the Quran, how to tell your children in a halal way, basically. So that I thought I would bring, not to show off, but just to tell you about it. And this book here is called The Gift of Nikah. Very, very brilliant book. It is absolutely brilliant. It's all about the nikah contract and what that entails. It is a very, very good book. So you can read that if you want. The Gift of Nikah by Maulana Muhammad Ibrahim. I will show you other books in a minute when we get to the problems in marriage. Okay, so the day you complete half of your deen, just remember she is not only your wife but your queen, a gift from above, from Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. A righteous wife can make a poor man feel like a king, and that's what a wife should do. Okay, so they've had their nikah, what's next? We're doing this in stages. The walima, good. And a walima is very strongly recommended. It is a sunnah, and unlike the nikah, you are asked to spend on it. And did you know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a walima for all of his marriages, and he always had meat and he always had dessert. That's why I've got a wedding cake there. A wedding cake is absolutely fine unless you put candles on it and blow on it and make a wish. That's haram because that's paganism. But cutting a cake and eating it is absolutely fine. May Allah bless you in your marriage. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, now perform a walima even if it's only with a goat. And that's Sahih Bukhari, number 4872. And basically, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a very grand walima. Did you know that the two uncles of the Prophet, Hamza and Abu Talib, they actually did a speech on stage, so that is fine as well. You know the new speeches that people are doing on stage? I think that's a really good thing. Or when their mom does a sermon, it is actually very Islamic. So his two uncles did a speech, and Baraka actually did a speech on Khadija's side. And because the Prophet didn't have any money, Khadija radiallahu anha did the wedding in her house. The uncles gave a khutbah, there was lots of guests, Abu Bakr was there, and Amr ibn Hazm, their wives and other ladies were there. The speeches, like I showed you, there was meher, there was 20 camels, or 500 dirhams of the time, which was huge, by the way. There's an example for us. The feast, a camel was slaughtered for the guests and distributed for the needy in society. And did you know that the foster mother of the Prophet was invited to the wedding, and Halima was her name? And did you know that the newlyweds gave her 40 goats to support and feed her clan? So presents is fine to give on weddings if we follow that example. And weddings, I feel personally, shouldn't be that simple that you don't even know it's a wedding. I went to a wedding recently, it was just in a house. It might as well have been a dinner party. In fact, the dinner parties in my house are bigger than that. You couldn't even tell that it was even a wedding, okay? And I don't think that that's right. A wedding still should be a little bit so that you at least know it's a wedding. And did you know that in Islam you have to publicize the wedding? Does anybody know why? Why do you have to publicize a wedding?
So that people don't get misunderstand this.
Good. Just in case someone might say, well, do you know what?
Yes.
He knew her before and all the rest. That happens a lot in our culture. These wagging tails go everywhere, don't they? The wagging tongues, okay? So it should be publicized as well. Honeymoon, is that allowed? Yes, what's wrong with that? They're halal for each other. They can go on whatever honeymoon they want. If they want to go and do Hajj, that's even better. Some couples, they start off their life with Hajj, and that's so beautiful. And then where does she go? She has to, according to the right of the husband, go to his house. That can be with in-laws, or that can be in her own house. Most people do go to their in-laws' house to start off with, and then eventually they can go. I lived 2 years with my in-laws before we moved into our house, and that was because we had to move because of my husband's job. In Muslim marriage, the woman is obliged to relocate with her husband by the contract. She is not obliged, though, to move away from her family and friends if the wife was not given a dowry, husband isn't trustworthy or has a violent nature, land to where she's moving is dangerous, e.g. immigrating from a Muslim to a non-Muslim country, or where there's war and conflict. We're looking at Afghanistan or war or Iraq here, but we're not looking at Walthamstow and Brentwood here, okay? Because some of these girls, they go, oh, we're living in a westernized town, why would we need to go to an Asian area like that? We have to also understand, you know, that even after marriage, I thought I'd be living in East London all my life. I got married in East London. Asians everywhere, and I ended up in Brentwood, which is much more English than Romford. You don't know where your destiny is going to be. You have to be compatible. And if the wife can't maintain contact with her family in the new area, she can't see or talk to them, then she can say no as well, okay? Because that is important for her well-being. So there's their lovely house in the country. The Messenger of Allah said it is not permitted for a woman to admit anyone into his house without his permission. That is the right of the husband, another right. We're looking at rights and morals here. That's in Bukhari and in Muslim and in Tirmidhi, 3 hadiths. So basically this is actually for her own protection. What kinds of friends do you think that would mean that she can't have round?
Male.
Pardon? Men, male friends? Or un-Islamic friends, or
non-mahram.
friends that are going to put
Non-mahram.
her against her husband. Okay? Those are the 3 categories where they shouldn't be allowed really in the house. And the husband will say, no, I'm not having that gossip face round because she talks about me and it's turning you against me. Okay?
Can I add a comment, please?
Yes.
The house, the picture of the house
Yes.
with the river
Yes.
is like a description of Jannah.
Is it?
And it's like a description of Jannah. I'm thinking for a lecture for all ladies to expect this type of house.
Yeah, they're not going to get it, but this is the honeymoon period. We haven't got to the divorce stage yet. So the other thing that we mentioned was that non-mahrams are not allowed around the house. Do not visit women in the absence of their husbands because shaitan circulates inside you like your blood. That's the theory. We did discuss this in the hijab lecture. Hi there, and then in the middle shaitan pops up and says hi there, so we have to be careful. Also, while we're on the topic of husbands and wives and houses, one of the rights of the husband over his wife is that she should not go out of the house except with his permission. That is in Bukhari and Muslim. Now, just think of your children. Do we not protect our children? Do they not tell us before they go out? This is for protection purposes. And the children, like children, the wives are under the husband's protection. So it's no big deal. In fact, it's just common courtesy. In fact, do the men not tell their wives before they go that, oh, by the way, I'm going to the sweet shop, or I'm going to lecture? It's common courtesy. So I think women make a bigger deal out of this, don't they, than what it really is. You just got to be polite and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to a lecture, I'll be back at approximately this time, okay? Not the exact time. So this is for your own protection. Now, while you're living with them, you're supposed to laugh, play and joke with your wife. It is sunnah. Who did this? Prophet Muhammad ﷺ with? Aisha. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to entertain his wife Aisha, and she used to play and race with him. He told us to play with our wives and have some fun. That's in Ahmad Volume 1. And it doesn't mean you annoy your wives. By the way, I've got to do, I know you're laughing, but some husbands actually think they can annoy their wives by doing this. So annoying is under another category. And you're all laughing, which means you will do it. A husband and wife must function like 2 wings on the same bird. Unless they work together, their marriage will never get off over the ground. And basically, you should go everywhere together. It actually makes the marriage more stronger. You can't just keep going out on your own. It's a bit like going to Jannah together. So the best love is when you find someone who makes your iman rise and makes you more pious and who helps you here in the dunya, because that person wants to meet you again in Jannah. Okay? And happiness is having a righteous husband who prevents you from entering Jahannam and helps you to go to Jannah. This is why you chose him in the first place, didn't you? You chose someone pious who can help you to go to Jannah. And she should also help you. She's waking you up to do Fajr here. Would it be nice to have a wife who would wake you up for Fajr? And she's kindly saying, love, wake up, it's already Fajr. If you chose a wife that's not pious and not even into a religion, who's going to do that for you? Who's going to give you the motivation? Pray together, stay together, be a man of Iman, so you deserve to be her man, and be a woman of the Deen, so you deserve to be his queen. And then throughout marriage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has again and again told more men than women to look after their wives nicely. There are more ayahs in the Quran that tell men to look after their wives than the other way around. But we will look at both, so I'm not going to be biased. And among his signs is this, that he created for you mates from among yourselves, that you may dwell in tranquility with them. And he has put love and rest between your hearts. That's in Quran chapter 30. And if you look at Adam al-Islam and Hawa, she was made from his rib for a reason, wasn't she? So take my advice with regard to women. Prophet Muhammad said, act kindly towards them. They were created from a rib, and the most crooked part of a rib is its uppermost. If you attempt to straighten it, you will break it. If you leave it alone, it will remain crooked. So act kindly towards women. That's in Bukhari and in Muslim. Woman's rib. Woman was created from the rib of a man. She was made from his side to be close to him, and we talked about this in the creation lecture, right next to his heart. From beneath his arm to be protected by him, and near his heart to be loved by him. And the Prophet Muhammad said the most perfect believer in faith is the one whose character is finest and whose kindest to his wife. And the Prophet Muhammad said the best of you is the one who is best to his wife. That's in Ibn Majah.
Sorry, is that wives rather than wife?
Wife, sorry.
It should be wives.
Wife, sorry. The biggest gift after Iman faith is your wives. That's Hazrat Umar. Okay, you said that. And obviously we've got to have one for the men. Any woman who dies while her husband is pleased with her, she will enter Jannah. Okay, that is in Tirmidhi. Her way, did you know that after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is our husbands we are supposed to obey, unless they tell us to do shirk or anything against the religion or Allah. So if your husband says don't wear a hijab, you can say no, I'm wearing that. Or if he stops you doing Islamic things. Okay? Right, the honeymoon period's over now. What is next? Where marriage goes a bit... Yes, children. It's not a laughing baby, it's a crying baby. Okay, first of all, a woman's status goes really high as a mother. In Islam, her status goes right up to saying that the heaven lies at the feet of thy mother. So her status gets very, very high, and her seat of honor and dignity becomes extra special. Who do the children follow in deen? The father. This is why you chose a husband who is Muslim. So marry someone who is deeply interested in the deen, because that is who your children will follow. How many children are you supposed to have? As many as you can. Okay, a basket full of children. Why? Good, to spread Islam in the land. The more children you have, the more Muslims. Think of imams, don't they have a lot of children? Okay. So as many as possible to spread Islam. And Allah has actually said to you that kill not your children because of poverty, for it is we, Allah, who will give sustenance for you and your children. And that is actually in the Quran, that Allah will provide sustenance for them. So you can't say, oh, I'm poor, I'm in a council house, so I can only have children. But it is a woman's right to stop children due to health reasons. The best thing you can do for your children is to love your spouse, because strong marriages make strong families. And this is why eating together is one really, really good thing, which is going down the drain nowadays, thanks to the mobile phone. If you look at this, in the olden days, landline united the family. I remember these days, actually, as we were growing up, our first phone. I used to get really excited when it would ring, and now everybody's at the dining table on their own phones. So strong is very, very important in Islam, strong family structure. Men and women have their specific roles in Islam, and if those roles are crossed or over the top, single stuff done, then the marriage breaks down. So whether women like it or not, women give birth to the children. They're the ones who Allah has put natural breast milk in them. Obviously it's them who is going to go with looking after the children, naturally. So the husband has to pay you basically pocket money for personal expenses for you and the children. This is the woman's right. And another one that a lot of women don't know is when you breastfeed your child, you have the right to ask your husband to pay for it, and he cannot deny that to you. So again, women should not abuse that. I know so many men who said their credit cards are with their wives. And they have to ask the wife if they want money to do anything. It's ridiculous. So it's actually, again, going the other way around, especially in the Western culture. And the husband's right is to have his house maintained. So basically, in the Maliki madhab, a wife should not refuse daily domestic chores, while in the Hanafi madhab, there is religious reward of housework. This is on the grounds that women are not working outside of the home. Their maintenance covers bread making, sweeping, bed making, bringing water back if needed. In Islam, a woman is considered as a homemaker. She is not really considered as a housewife. But she is not married to the house, so this is basically her specific role. This is what's happened to Mona Lisa, though, after all the housework. Mona Lisa, after marriage, having 2 kids with husband on overseas project, mother-in-law's surgery and maid on leave. Is that supposed to happen to her? No. So some people, some girls are being abused. That's her all modern and westernized before marriage. And her mum says to her, don't worry, everything after marriage you can get whatever you like. You just get married first. And then there she's in a short kameez, same fringe, in front of the pot. And 30 years later, she's still in front of the cooker. So that is not allowed to happen. Basically, your wives are not your maids. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did used to help his wife. Allah's messenger said, beware, I advise you to treat your woman honorably. That's in Tirmidhi. So look at her, she's washing and cooking, multitasking in the kitchen. What is he doing? He's watching a program on food. Okay, he's watching a program on food. I can picture a lot of the men actually, they do this. Plonk themselves in front of the telly.
Watching football.
Yeah, we should have had football or cricket on there. With my husband, it's cricket. But, again, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we've got a very good example. He was a very good man. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said he milked his goat and kneaded bread. Can you see the rollers reversed? He's cooking, and where's the wife? She's sleeping in bed, giving her a rest there. And did you know that when you help your wife, giving her a helping hand, it's really appreciated, and it actually increases the love between a husband and wife because they're actually doing something together. And I think that's really nice and special. The whole family should help with housework. Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, was asked, what did the Prophet used to do in his house? She replied, he used to keep himself busy serving his family, and when it was time for prayer, he would go for it. That is in Bukhari. So there's the couple washing the dishes together, and their little child who they've got now is also washing the dishes. So the whole family's helping out and carrying out all the chores. That's the way it should be, really. Good partnership. And did you know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reported to also mend his own clothes and patch his garments, and he sewed as well. So ironing is not a bad thing for a man to do, especially since they have so many shirts. And they can mend their own garments. What else did the Prophet do? Yeah, we've done that one. What else did he do? My favourite one. He took the rubbish out. Prophet Muhammad cooked clean and took the trash out. Your wives are not your maids, they are your partners, be like Muhammad. So he is sweeping up the leaves for her. But it's the other way around nowadays, I'm afraid to say. This is what's going on. He's ironing, she's just relaxing with the feet, having a pedicure. Don't you think you're taking this equality thing a little too far, Janet? And look at her then. What a nawab. Okay, she's having her feet done by her husband. So there has to be a limit, basically. Everything needs to be in modesty. And you may laugh, but I know men who tell me these things. They take the mick. Some wives do. So we need to keep it in the middle. And you need to know that they are clothing for you and you are clothing for them. You should care for your husband when he's ill. That's why he chose you, because you'd be a good mother. Not just for the children, but to look after you as well. Talking about marriage, Allah says your spouses are garments for you. A garment may or may not fit perfectly, but either way it covers imperfections, protects and beautifies. Okay, now so far, this is the bit that we are on. So far before we go on to the brothers, okay? The best wife listens to her husband and does her best to please him, always considers her husband's well-being, does not give the husband stress but gives him peace of mind, does not spend more than her husband earns, helps her husband at the time of problems, has patience when the husband doesn't treat her justly, behaves and dresses modestly, learns and practices Islam and teaches her husband too, does her best to raise their children in an Islamic way. Her utmost goal is an ideal of Islamic home. Okay? Right, now we need to just do this. And women have rights over their husbands as regards of living expenses, similar to those of their husbands over them as regards obedience and respect to what is reasonable. So it's basically living expenses the husband has to do. That is her right to have, but she has lots of other rights as well. In fact, women have more rights than men. But what isn't good is when women abuse those rights. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam has given us many, many more rights than women. So in the Quran it says, read in the name of your Lord who has created all that exists. That command is for men and women. So if a woman does want to work, she can, or be educated after she's married. But we just need to make sure it doesn't go into sort of disrupts her family life as in bringing up the children. So we need to have a balance really. But there's nothing that stops her from being educated. A Muslim woman has a right to be educated, but better really, in my view, is to do it before you get married. Because with me, I don't know if anybody knows, I did a master's, I'm doing a PhD at the moment, my Alma course I did after. It's really difficult, it's not easy. Better to do it all before you get married, and then you can focus on your children. The women are not a garment. You wear and undress however you like. They are honoured and they have their rights. The other thing that it says is the seeking of knowledge is obligatory for every Muslim. That's for male and female in Tirmidhi. And the Prophet himself said that women should be educated because it promotes good behaviour and condemns bad behaviour in all spheres of life. Why is it important women are educated? Does anybody know?
Children.
Yes, the children. Right, education is important because they're the ones who are bringing up the next generation. The first school of a child is her mother's arms. So if she needs to be educated in order to teach her children, she is very good with her speech skills as well. Allah has given her brilliant language skills. We'll find that out in a minute when we get to the marital discord part. And then good communication is all really there to give a good upbringing of the children. And generally, did you know that where there is low achievement in education in areas, generally the crime rates are higher, the drug abuse is higher, violence is higher. That's a common fact, isn't it, in areas of low education. She is allowed to earn, but that doesn't mean she's the breadwinner. When the roles are reversed, that's when the problems happen. Okay? It is up to the man, which we will discuss, we haven't got to the men yet, to go and earn the living. For women, it's easy. Live at home, have a life of leisure. Okay? So earning, she is allowed to do. And women have a very big added advantage. Because what she earns is hers. She does not need to give any of that to her husband. It is her right to keep that money herself. Women, I don't understand why they have bank accounts with their husbands. I don't get that. I really don't. If you earn money, you have your own bank account, you pay your own zakat on it. It's your money. If you want to pay the mortgage or pay money towards the houses, you take it out and you give it to your husband. But this actually then stops the husbands doing anything. Okay? You should have your own separate bank account, and that is not me talking, that is Islam talking. Okay? So what's yours is her, marriage in Islam, what's hers is hers, and what's yours is hers as well. So tell me again how Islam gives women no rights. So you keep your own money, but what the man earns is yours as well, because in a minute we'll find out it's your right to, for shelter, money, clothing, expenses, breast milk money, you name it, everything. Now this was actually a privilege given in Islam, because in the West, did you know that right at the beginning of time in history, women were not given they were not granted economic independence like in Islam, and it was only until the early 20th century, after many women's rights movements, that married women were able to exercise separate rights over their earnings. Before that, everything automatically went to their husbands, and in Islam, it's different. The right of a wife is actually maintenance. It is obligatory for her husband to provide her with food, shelter, and clothing. But if she wants to earn, she can. If she's educated, she may want to work, but part-time is actually best. I myself, I was working full-time as a scientist. A lot of you know about me by now. It's all over all my biographies and everything. I've got nothing to hide. I was a scientist working 9 to 5 when I got married. When I got married, I knew, obviously, we're going to have children. I actually transformed out my whole career and became a teacher so that I could be at home when they come home after school, and in the summer holidays, Christmas holidays, I can be at home with them. It's a very good career, and part-time. Why would I need to do full-time? So your house really should be tidy and not like this when you're going out to work, because your main job is really to look after the children and the house. That is the role Allah has given women. Also, similar to earning and keeping your own money, for the first time in history, Islam was the first religion to introduce inheritance, where women could inherit property from their parents and husbands. Before that, in every religion, it was only men who inherited property, and the women couldn't even sell off any property that they had without their husband's consent. Did you know this only changed in the UK in the early 20th century, after many years of struggle after the women's rights movements, where married women were allowed then to separate rights over their property and inheritance. So it is very, very important. And in Surah Nisa, it was revealed for the first time that for men is a share of what the parents and other relatives leave, and for women is a share of what the parents and other relatives leave, be it little or much, an obligatory share. And that is in Surah Nisa. They are also, for the first time, similar to inheritance, Islam was the first religion to give women the right to a final will as well. So again, in the UK, it was only until the early 20th century, nearly only 100 years ago, when women were allowed to inherit a will, but in all the religions before that, they couldn't. Islam was way ahead of its time. And Allah commands you as regards your children's inheritance to the male a portion equal to that of two females. Now, a lot of people worry about this, but why is that? There's a reason. Why do men get double that of women?
Women get what's the share from everywhere.
The women get share from?
Yeah, from everybody, from father, husband.
Yes, good. So the women get share from the father as well, and from the husband as well, from everywhere. But also the husband is the one who is obliged to spend money on his family. So he needs more money, doesn't he? He's keeping the wife and the children. This is the reason why it is double. Not for any other reason. It doesn't mean that women are oppressed in any way. Women couldn't even sell their property without their husband's consent in the UK, did you know, until the 20th century. Whereas for the first time in Islam, we were allowed to inherit, including property as well, and selling it as well. So that's lots of women's rights. They've got more, but I'm only dealing with the ones within marriage. Okay? Now let's look at the men. Women have the same rights against their men. Women have the same rights against their men as men have against them, but men have a degree above them. What does that mean? Allah is all powerful, all wise. What does that mean?
Al-Kiwama.
Pardon?
Al-Kawamu.
Yes?
I mean,
Do you want to explain that? Yes.
men have a degree of pride. That means we are responsible for making sure everyone in the family is safe.
Good.
Not to be dictators.
Yes, good, good, well done. Men are the protectors and maintainers of women, as Allah has made one of them to excel the other, and because they spend to support them from their means. Therefore, the righteous women are devoutly obedient to Allah and their husbands, and guard in their husbands' absence what Allah orders them to guard, again in Surah Nisa. So this is actually to do with chastity and property they are guarding as well. And in Islam, a woman has no financial obligation, and the economical responsibility lies on the shoulders of a man. Before a woman is married, it's the duty of her father or brother to look after the lodging, boarding, clothing, and other financial requirements of the woman. And after she's married, it is the duty of the husband or the son. Islam holds the man financially responsible for fulfilling the needs of his family. And the right of a wife is maintenance, despite any wealth she may have. She might be a millionaire, okay? She might have kept all her own money when she got married. She kept it all. She might have inherited property. But her husband is obliged to provide her still with food, shelter and clothing, no matter how rich she is. And this is because to stop her being used, okay? To stop her being used. And did you know that every little morsel that a man puts in his wife's mouth is regarded as sadaqah? This is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's words. It is not permitted for a woman to spend in charity of his wealth without his consent, so not going through his pockets to get money out. Unless he's not giving you money, on that circumstance, then you can do it. That is in Bukhari and in Muslim. And did you know that another thing, another very good right that women have is that it is up to the man to maintain her pre-marriage standard of living if he can afford it. So if she had a palace and a boat before she got married and he's got the money, then he has to provide that for him. But that doesn't mean she takes his credit card and spends on designer wear clothes like I hear the poor brothers say all the time. I hear it all. Credit cards in her hands, she's out there with the designer wear stuff. And he has to ask her every time he needs money. That's taking the biscuit, that is. Okay. Also, if a wife has been used, for example, a car as well. And if she had a maid before marriage, then he should get her a maid. If she had a cleaner before marriage, then he needs to get her a cleaner if he can afford it only, though. She needs to ask from within his means. Okay? What other role do men have apart from money?
Protectors.
Pardon?
Protectors.
Protectors. Good. Well done, Khadija. Well done. Protectors and maintainers of women. They are our bodyguards. They are our mehrams. Why has Allah made them taller and big and stronger than us? Why aren't women all builders? And why is it more men are builders? Why is it that men have a separate running race in the Olympics and women have a separate running race? There's all this thing about equality I feel has gone a bit too far, really. Men have a natural tendency to be like Superman. They come to the rescue, okay? Spider there or a mouse somewhere, they come to the rescue naturally and they help to lift up heavy bags and things like that. Hajj as well, we know that they are our protectors during Hajj. Ibn Abbas said, I heard the Messenger of Allah say, when he was delivering a sermon, no woman should travel except with a mahram. A man said, my wife has set out for Hajj and I've signed up for a military campaign. The Prophet Muhammad said, go and do Hajj with your wife. That's in Bukhari 3006 and Muslim 1341. And this actually is not alien to England. When I did the hijab lecture, I explained that in 1872 there were rules for teachers and you were not allowed to ride in a buggy with a man if the man is either or your brother. If the man is your father or your brother, then you can ride in the buggy, but you can't ride alone. And this is only in 1872, not that long ago. What other role do men have in the family? One more very important role.
Teach the children.
Teach the children
Islam.
about Islam. Which men do that then? It's always left to the women, isn't it? And what's interesting is women are more religious than men, I've noticed. They're more emotionally, they connect with Allah more, they cry more, which I find as well. It's up to the man. The children have followed your religion. Lead the way, be the leader in Islam. When a man has the knowledge of deen, he can lead his family with respect. When a woman has the knowledge of deen, she can lead her children in humility. When children have knowledge of deen, they can lead their parents to Jannah. So basically, I know so many men, they can't be bothered with the religion. In fact, they stop the children going to the mosque. And this is actually a little comic strip here, where the mother is telling the dad, take your son with you to the masjid, and he goes, he's just a kid. Wait for him to grow up a little bit. Then he's grown up, she goes, take him to the masjid. He says, no, he's too small at 4 years old. 8 years, hurry up, your father's waiting to take you to the masjid. Oh, leave him, dear, he's just a kid. And then he's 16 years old, and now the dad is telling him, come to the masjid, and he goes, I'm not a kid, I'm not going there, he's not going to listen, is he? So everybody within the family has a very big role in Islam. It's like a triple umbrella. The husband protects the family, leads the family, provides for the family. Under the umbrella is the wife. She's the comfort, the teacher, the nurture. And Allah's given us these roles. Allah has made men good at maths for that reason. Allah has made wives caring and loving for that reason. And children then are under there, they're there to love their parents and obey their parents. But this is the order of a good family life. Right, what's next? We are now going to look at problems. He doesn't want to hold her hand anymore. 1 year's gone, this is their wedding anniversary, okay? We know that Shaitan, from my black magic lecture, will not be happy until he has broken down a couple. And we know that he has armies behind him, and every time they do something bad, he says, you didn't do anything, until they come up and say that I didn't leave him till I split him from his wife. And Shaitan brings him close and says, you did really well. So this is actually something we covered last time. So this will be Shaitan's mission, and he will get happy, and we need to remember that, okay? Now, who can tell me some of the problems now that will lead to marital discord? Any ideas? Put your hands up. Yes.
From the brothers, there's quite numerous ones.
Right.
But
Can we deal with one from the wives first?
Yeah, okay.
We are going to come to the men in a minute.
That's admirable.
Yes. Yes. Children. Children this is between husband and wife we're talking about now. Come on, what do husbands don't do? Yes.
But having children, isn't it? Because then they cannot do anything.
Okay, I'll start the ball rolling. Okay, we're looking at funny things here. So, before marriage, he brings her flowers. And then after marriage, what does he do? Brings her tomatoes or a different kind of flower. There's atta flower there, okay? So basically no romance left in the marriage because he's just interested in bringing her food to make, okay? And most men aren't smart enough to realize that the higher you elevate your woman, the less available she is for other men. When you break her down, you make her accessible to anyone she thinks will treat her better. I have seen this, where men don't give attention, and that's why the woman's going to go off with someone else who's going to treat her well and say, oh, I think you're brilliant. And basically, to keep the love alive, a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. So we need to keep everything going. Now men can tell me. Yes. What's the biggest one?
Okay, no salt in the food.
That's not good enough reason. You can get the salt yourself and you can put it on your food.
But, it does,
But this is the
I'm saying it
clue.
like a joke, but it does cause a lot of fight. One of my friends divorced because
That's
of that.
ridiculous. Tell him to get the salt and put it on his
Wife
food.
being
Allah's sake.
ungrateful.
Ungrateful and this
Nagging.
is your clue.
Nagging.
Nagging.
Nagging, yeah.
Your husband's the lion and look at her. She's using her speech skills in a bad way. Doesn't matter who the hell you are, she's saying to him. And look at the poor man, he's supposed to be the dominant one in the family and he's become all weak. There's a lot of weedy men out there, by the way. There is a lot of weedy men out there. The wives, I feel, sometimes are over the top.
Yeah.
The poor husbands, honestly, they can't even go out anywhere unless it's somewhere where the wife wants. And if he wants to go somewhere, he ends up not going because the wife wants him to go somewhere else. I've seen that quite a lot as well. So she's got him right under his thumb. And it's the men's fault. I do blame the men here, because if the men took a standstill right at the beginning after marriage and said, look, I'm not taking that from you, I'm the boss here, and you go where I want you to go, it wouldn't happen.
They send them in a divorce.
No, but if you, at the beginning, when you're
Yeah.
still lovey-dovey, if you do it at the beginning, you're better off. But to do it halfway through your marriage, it is too late. She's already got the thumb over you.
But
Okay.
that means
And
women taking
I know
advantage.
so many men who are scared of their wives.
Women taking
so many.
advantage of men because of children or whatever.
Yes.
Do you
So
think?
correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking 90% of women nowadays,
Mm.
both Muslims and Christians and any,
Yes.
are like this. 90%,
Yes,
is that
they
right?
are. Yeah, it's woman power, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's dominating the world. The Western world then spreads it to America, spreads it to England, and all our countries back home are all copying the
Yes.
Western countries. But it's not Islamic etiquette, so we're not allowed to do that. Something along the lines of what you said about the salt in the food, I have got that one. Wake up, princess, I need my dal roti. Okay? That means, now this is very important. There are two things men like in a marriage. One is food, hot food on the table, and two is their relationships in their beds with their wives. That's why they get married, okay? And the wives are not giving them the food. He has to go to the restaurant and get a takeaway, and it's not the same as home-cooked food. And in the bed, she's not, doesn't want to deal with him in the bed either. So, Ramadan cream is Ramadan cream all year round, okay? There's only so many headaches a woman can have. Now, naturally, men do have a tendency to want it all the time, so they need to be a bit more moderate, not every day, okay? But women as well, you can't deprive him the whole year. There has to be a balance, okay? What's the other one? Women now, what are the men really good at doing?
The DIY.
Lazy?
DIY. They just go out.
DIY, I don't know,
Get
my
married.
husband's very good at DIY. What about
They just go
angry?
out. They get angry. They go out and forget about everything. Yeah.
Okay? Before shadi, it's lovebirds, okay? And afterwards you become angry birds. And that is actually one for the men. The other one that I have seen, and someone did mention children here, I'll tell you what the biggest problem is men are too soft with the children and completely left the mother to dominate the child, and children nowadays listen to their fathers. Oh, I've seen this big time. And the men, they stick up for the children and they pull the child apart. No, you'll wear this shoe, and she'll say, no, you wear this shoe. And the child doesn't know what to do. Is the child going to do what the man wants, the dad wants, or is the child going to do what the woman wants? So there is a very big problem. We've got lots of Mr. Wrongs, okay? He sulks, he shouts, he smashes things, he glares, he calls you names, makes you feel ugly and useless, cuts you off from your friends, stops you working, never admits he's wrong. That's a part of his ego. Turns the children against you. I have seen so many men do this. Instead of telling the child you're wrong, listen to your mother, they turn the children against the mother. Uses the children to control you. I've seen that as well. Never does his share of the housework. That I haven't seen that much. I've seen men do quite a lot actually. Alhamdulillah. Never looks after the children. Expects sexual relationships on demand. Controls the money. I've seen actually women control that as well. Threatens or wheedles you to get his own way. Seduces your friends, sisters, anyone. That's not good, is it? That's a definite no-no. Expects you to be responsible for his well-being, blames you, drink and drugs. Okay, I have seen all of that. Some of that, yes, you can see in wives as well. So don't expect your spouse, first of all, to be perfect. He, she is only the dunya version of themselves. Their perfect version is saved for Jannah. So have sabr, have patience. Okay? Basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us in so many ways before it gets to the final stage. The happiest couples in the world never have the same nature. They just have the best understanding of their differences. And did you know that there is more ayahs in the Quran trying to tell men to be good to their wives? This is one of them. If you dislike them, your wives, in any manner, it may be that you dislike something in which Allah has placed much good for you. It may be that you dislike a thing which is good for you and that you like a thing which is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not know. That's in Surah Baqarah. I find that absolutely amazing. So, for example, you might be OCD as a woman, your husband might be really badly unorganized, but that's good for you because you shouldn't be so, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. Do you understand? This is an example, but you don't know, but Allah put that partner with you. So this, I think, is a very big key for both to try and understand. The other one is that when a husband and wife look at each other with love, Allah looks at both of them with mercy. That's in Bukhari. So if you show a little bit of love and mercy, he might have a medical condition. She might have mental health problems. Okay? Anything. You just don't know. Then you need to look at her with mercy. Look at what he's doing. He doesn't like her, but he's got the brolly on top of her. And there's a rickshaw one where it's the other way around. She's got the brolly on top of him while he's driving. She's having mercy on him. That creates love, doesn't it, between a couple? And that love can then bring them both together under that same umbrella. Okay? He held the umbrella for her. She held the umbrella for him, and now that umbrella is helping both of them. Okay, there's a lot of logic in these pictures. Now, if it still doesn't work out, then one privilege that a man has is he is allowed polygamy. It's not a rule, but an exception. There needs to be a reason. If we look at the marriages of the Prophet lecture, which is on my YouTube channel I did last year, each and every marriage he had was for a specific reason. He married widows, he married prisoners of war, he married poor people to put a roof on their head. There was a reason. And one reason can be if she is not giving you children. Say she can't have children, then, for example, you are allowed to, according to Islam, marry up to 4. And that is actually a limit that was put in Islam. Did you know that in Islam, before Islam came, people were marrying hundreds of wives? So Allah actually put a limit in the Quran.
Excuse me.
Yes, I'm going to come to that bit.
Okay,
Yes.
now just be fair. You know, when the marriage it is a contract,
Yes.
as a wife can put a condition not to have a second
It's
wife.
up to the imam to pass it, though. That's the main
No,
thing.
if she finds out she is infertile, she can't give a baby. He wants to get married.
Yes.
So what is going to happen?
Well, she can say it's fine then. Maybe another contract can be drawn up.
okay.
Yes, because at that stage you don't know. This is one of the reasons why the marriage contract is not even made in the first place, because a lot of people think it's not going to get to that stage. But this is when the marriage contract then comes in. So Quran is the only religious book that says marry only one, marry women of your choice, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear you shall not be able to deal justly with them, then marry only one. Before the Quran was revealed, there was no upper limit for polygamy and men had hundreds of wives. Islam put an upper limit of 4 wives, and only on the condition that he deals justly with them. What we mustn't forget is 4 wives may be a good idea, but you also get 4 mother-in-laws as well. Imagine that one then. You can't even deal with one, forget about 4 mother-in-laws. And what's really interesting is that it is very difficult to be just between them. So in the same chapter it says you are never able to be fair and just between women. That is in Surah Nisa. A good Muslim husband always do things equally among his wives. So here he is with both wives, he's giving the same presence. Okay? Now polyandry is where women have more than one husband. And that in Islam is not allowed because of the following reasons. Allah has created men and women equal, but with different capabilities, roles and responsibilities. Because men and women are different, physiologically and psychologically. They are equal, but not identical. If a man has more than one wife, the parents of the children born of such marriages can easily be identified. The surname, remember, is taken from the father. But that you can't have, can you, if a wife has lots of husbands?
Yeah.
Man is more polygamous by nature compared to women. We did this in the hijab lecture. Men are 10 times more, have sexual drives than women do. Biologically, it's easier for man to perform his duties as a husband despite having several wives. A woman in a similar position having several husbands will not find it possible to perform her duties as a wife. A woman undergoes several psychological and behavioural changes due to different phases of the menstrual cycle. So this is very important to understand. And a woman who has more than one husband will have several sexual partners at the same time and has a higher chance of acquiring sexually transmitted diseases, which can also be transmitted back to her husband. This isn't the case in a man having more than one wife. So these are the reasons. And it tells you also to men, or marry from among those whom your right hand possesses, in Surah Nisa. Do you remember right at the very beginning of the lecture, a lot of you were late and you didn't catch that beginning, which means you won't understand this now. But right at the beginning we said that servants and prisoners of wars were taken on as prostitutes by men before Islam came. So this was actually a rule brought in by Islam to say that you are allowed to do that, to make everything halal. So this refers to slaves and prisoners of war. So, or marry from among those whom your right hand possesses. This expression denotes slave girls, female captives of war, who are distributed by the state among individuals. The purpose of this verse is to tell men that if their financial circumstances do not permit them to support a free woman as their wife, then they may marry a slave girl if they consider it necessary to have more than one wife. And it would be difficult for them to treat their free wives equitably. They may resort to slave girls, for here the burden of obligations is lighter by comparison. And Islam treated female slaves more kindly in their enslavement than other cultures did. Their honour was not considered to be permissible to anyone by way of prostitution, which was the fate of female prisoners of war in most cases. Rather, Islam made them the property of their masters alone and forbade anyone else to have relationships with them. Islam made it their right to become free through a contract of manumission, which encouraged setting them free and promised reward for that as well. Okay, nothing is going to work out. She didn't let him marry anyone else. Okay, now what? What is the next thing it's written in the Quran that men can do?
Divorce.
No, not yet.
No,
That's the very wrong answer, because there's a huge amount of stuff that comes before
Get the
this.
families together, member of the families from both families.
Yep, even before that. What can you do?
Separate.
Peter.
Yes,
Warn her.
but lightly.
Lightly.
Okay?
Oh, right.
You didn't know that one, did you?
I did, but
This is actually a really funny lecture and I can't stop laughing, it's so funny. The husband has the right to discipline his wife if she disobeys him in something good, okay? Women on whose part you see ill conduct, admonish them first, next refuse to share their beds, and last beat them lightly with a stick. And all we mean is a little miswak stick or just 2 fingers. You know, like you tell a child off and you go, oh, get out of here. What are you doing? Stop
That's
that.
not perfect.
A bit like that. Okay? If it is useful. But if they return to obedience, seek not against the means of annoyance. Surely Allah is ever most high and most great. That's in Surah Nisa. That ayah comes just a tiny bit before the bit about when you have to separate. So this is actually the last resort before you go on to what you've said. And again, I will say that this is lightly. We don't mean wife beating is not allowed in Islam. It tells you none but a noble man treats women in an honourable manner, and none but an ignorant man treats women disgracefully. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ actually told us that. So next is the bit that you said. You get an arbiter, one from each side, one from the man's side, one from the wife's side. Make sure it's not your mother-in-law, okay? Because they're not going to take your side, are they? And basically, that is in Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse 35. And this actually has to happen first, okay? And it could be just after the elders who you respect, who are your family, who got together and made the marriage in the first place. Just by them saying it, everything might be better. And that heart that was broken may join again together. And they both wish for peace. Allah will bring reconciliation between them. Indeed, Allah is ever all-knowing, well acquainted with all things. Again, that is in the same verse of the Quran, chapter 4, verse 35. And it may work out again, your broken heart might come together and everything might be good again. Okay? Then, the next thing is, those who take an oath not to have sexual relations with their wives must wait for 4 months. That's in Surah Baqarah. So basically, this is where you separate in your beds. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, doesn't it? Ever heard of that phrase? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Why 4 months?
So that if the wife's pregnant.
Just in case she's pregnant. If she's pregnant, you wait, and then you're going to get back together again. I remember the story you told me once where there was an English couple and they were about to divorce, and then they found out the woman was pregnant and they got back together
When
again.
she had the baby.
When she had the baby, he saw the baby, thought, wow, that baby looks like me, that's a bit of me, and they got back together again. This is common. This is common. So you're not allowed to divorce or do anything while she is pregnant. You have to wait. I can't tell you how important this is. This is the most important part of the lecture, this end part. Okay, so it's 4 months because of pregnancy. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. You stay away, the sexual intimacy goes, you're not touching, the feelings go, and because of that, then you're going to end up maybe liking each other again. Okay? So then if they return, change their mind in this period, verily Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. And if they decide upon divorce, then Allah is all hearer, all knower. At least they've tried the different avenues. And in Islam, it is very important. You don't just go to the end. You have to try all the different avenues first before you get to that stage. Okay, and then we look at divorce. Okay? Now, Islam was the first religion to allow divorce. And in difficult circumstances, although it's allowed, it's one of the most hateful things that Allah doesn't like. And we know Shaitan tries to get you to do this because it's the most hateful thing. And did you know that before Islam came, women were beaten and battered? Look at Pharaoh's wife, Asya. She couldn't get out for difficult marriage. Within England, Henry VIII wanted to divorce. He had to change the religion to Church of England before he could remarry and divorce. So Islam was the first religion to actually allow divorce for women to get out of difficult marriages, and men as well nowadays. Okay? There are so many different kinds of divorce. Okay? Talaq is generally the divorce that a husband can give. And basically, khulla, on the whole, is the divorce which a wife can give. It can be verbally or written down. Both is preferred in front of two witnesses. Okay? It is not like in the Indian films where the husband says talaq 3 times and that's the end of the marriage. It doesn't work like that. Someone somewhere has got it completely wrong. He says it once. First of all, he's not allowed to be angry when he says it. If he's angry, it doesn't count. Okay? I come across this all the time as a Muslim chaplain. So he says it once, but 3 times, okay? And then he has to wait. How many months does he have to wait?
3 months.
3 months? What if she's pregnant?
It's the idda period, isn't it?
Idda period is 3 months. If she's pregnant, then what? Can you tell me what you said earlier? He waited till she had the baby. He waits till she has the baby, and then after that he can give the next talaq.
And look after the child as well.
Yes, he has to.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is why this is a whole year, and there's a Happy New Year after this.
What's if she is not pregnant? Is it still 3 months?
No, then it's 3 months. Then it's 3 months.
Just if she is not pregnant.
Yes, then it's
And
3 months.
Yeah.
Okay? So let us please listen to this carefully because it's very, very important. So for someone who's pregnant, the iddah is until the baby is born 9 months. If it is just the normal iddah, then it is 3 months, which is 3 menstrual cycles. Why 3 months? Why 3 months?
To be sure she's not pregnant.
Good,
Yeah.
good, to make sure she is not pregnant. Okay? Then after that, after the 3 months, you might find you're okay. You might then
Is it after
get
or
together
is
again.
it after or before 3 months?
After 3 months. You wait 3 months before you give the second divorce. Then you wait another 3 months or a year if a child is there. And then you give the third final divorce. Divorce is to be given 2 times, and then a woman must be retained in good manner or released gracefully. Now what is very interesting is that after the second talaq, basically you can keep remarrying them. So even after the second talaq you've given, you can remarry them with a new contract and a new meher dowry. Okay? Then up to 3 times you can remarry them. After the 3rd time, it's the end. Okay? After the 3rd time, it is the end. Does that make sense? So you can remarry them.
Is she married to someone else? And if she got a
Yes,
divorce or
I'm coming to that bit. So after the 3rd
third one.
divorce, marriage is not a joke, divorce is not a joke. This is to prove that divorce is not a joke. You can't just do it. So to protect the woman, she has to marry somebody else and have a sexual relationship with him, then divorce him, and then she can go back to her husband. And this is why divorce is not a joke, and it's not like you see in the movies where the husband says talaq, talaq, talaq 3 times and she goes. It isn't like that. It is so interesting, and this is what makes Islam so beautiful, because it's absolutely amazing the rights that women have got to stop them being used, and the way Allah has designed the process is amazing, which makes divorce very difficult. It takes a long time, keeps giving them ideas to get back together. The final resort then is divorce. And did you know that's the talaq the man gives, where this process is very long. But if a woman gives talaq, only 1 month iddah, and that's it. Much easier for a woman, much easier for a woman. Aren't we lucky that we're women? Okay? There are 4 types of divorce a woman can give, which nobody even talks about. By agreement between couple, both may say, okay, we're not compatible, let us part. By unilateral will of the wife, if she mentions it in her marriage contract, nikah nama, that she's the right to give divorce, she can give it. That's isma, the divorce isma. And that's another thing that can go in the nikah nama.
Excuse me, is this from hadith or is just from Quran?
It is in the hadiths.
Sorry?
It is in the hadiths. Can we do
Not in-
questions at the end, please?
Okay.
Okay, there's so much interruption today. I need to get to the end and I can smell pizzas. If the husband ill-treats her or not give her equal rights, she's the right to go to a qazi and nullify the marriage, nikah el-fask. The qazi may ask the husband to give the full or part of the meher. Okay? So if the wife initiates a divorce, there are two options. In the first case, the wife may choose to return her dowry to end the marriage. She forgoes the right to keep the dowry since she is the one seeking to break the marriage contract. So there's two different types. And then with regard to iddah, with the khulla, it is actually only 1 month that is iddah. Even the husband may be a very good husband, the wife has got no complaints against the husband, but for personal reasons she doesn't like the husband, she can request the husband to divorce her. But it is actually, unfortunately, up to imams nowadays, and there are so many corrupt imams out there. Do you know, there's this poor sister whose husband beats and batters her, and he's from back home, and she's been crying to me over the phone, and she did the iddah period, she did the khulla, 1 month iddah and everything, and she's divorced, and in the middle of the iddah, the imam came round with her husband for them to get remarried again. And she goes, no, I can't do that because I'm in my iddah period. And he just doesn't get it, and he hasn't left a house, the house she owns as well. So there's all kinds of problems going out there. And there are spoof imams out there who are doing it just for the money. Give them £200-300, yep, we'll do it. So be careful, really. When somebody is divorced, when she does eventually get divorced, maintenance must be provided for her by the husband, for the children as well. And did you know that some women, again in their nikah nama, they write it down in there that the husband has to provide maintenance, just in case he doesn't do it. So that's why that nikah nama is very important. This is a duty on the pious, and that's in Surah Baqarah. And this is very important because in the past, in this country, marital separation resulted in the woman becoming economically destitute and having no money at all. So this is actually a protection system that helps a woman in Islam. And if you become a widow, the iddah is 4 lunar months and 10 days. You are not allowed to marry within that, just in case you're very vulnerable, there's an illegal immigrant around the corner who might want to marry you just to get a British passport. You're vulnerable. You haven't got a husband all of a sudden and you need support. So it's very, very important that that is actually followed unless you have to go out. So, narrated Ummatiya, we are forbidden to mourn for a dead person for more than 3 days, except in the case of a husband for whom mourning is allowed for 4 months and 10 days. That is actually in the hadith. And those of you who die and leave wives behind, then they shall wait as regards their marriage for 4 months and 10 days. Then when they fulfill their term, there is no sin on you if they dispose of themselves in a just and honourable manner. And then they can marry, basically. That's what that means. So remarriage is allowed. All of this system is there to protect lovely, vulnerable ladies who can very easily be used, and their emotions are very weak in that time. This is enough time also to establish whether they're pregnant or not. They might be pregnant and they may not want to marry again. So did you know that with a widow, one who cares for widows is like those who fight in the way of Allah. So we are allowed to look after widows. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, nearly all his marriages were all to widows, even including Khadija. And there is no restriction on remarriage of widow. For the first time in Islam, you look at Hinduism, women aren't allowed to marry again. In Islam, women are allowed to marry again. And again, all of that is mentioned in Surah Baqarah. Okay? Right, let's have lights on, please, sister, over there. There's a light switch on the side. If we can put all the lights on. And if I can have Ummi here, please. And if you can come from around the wires, and if we can have questions which I know you're all dying to ask. We will have 10 minutes of questions, and then we do need to eat before Maghrib. Okay, who's got a question? Right. Come round on this side and quickly take the microphone.
Thank you. Just on divorce case, if there is if somebody has divorced, and if there is 3 months,
Yes.
and within 3 months you can take her back,
Yes.
and after 3 months what happens?
If you take her back,
If you don't take her back,
if you don't take her back, then you do the next tilak, which is 3 times again.
Right.
Then you wait another 3 months.
okay,
Okay?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Until you've done 3, and that's the final.
Thank
Okay?
you.
So Allah has given that much time really for everybody to make up their mind and be absolutely sure. Okay? Right. Let's have a sister now. Let's have Sister Fasila on the end there.
So, I know the situation where a couple got divorced according to the law of the land.
Yes.
Divorcing each other Islamically was not.
Right. If you've had a nikah,
But some year has gone.
yeah, if you've had a nikah, you've got to go through the Islamic process. If you've had a civil marriage, you then additionally need to go through the civil marriage process as well for this country. Like you got married in both, you get divorced in both. Simple
One
as
was
that.
overlooked.
You know, it's not allowed to be. Not allowed to be.
Some years have gone by, so what? Is they married?
Well, basically, if a good number of years have gone by without any sexual contact, then the marriage
20
gets
years.
annulled itself. It gets annulled itself. But better really to have it in contract that you're divorced, even Islamically. How do you know your husband isn't going to turn up on your doorstep and want his property and all the rest?
The man has remarried, so.
Yes. Okay. Right. Let's have the brother right at the back. If you come straight back to me again, then you can see the 2 audiences. There's a brother right at the back there.
Assalamu alaikum. Sister, congratulations. Thank you very much for the talk. The only thing I wanted to ask about is you're pushing civil law and emphasising that this is what you're encouraging.
You know why? Because
let me
I've
ask my
seen the
question.
state of the ladies.
So let me ask you a question first, sister.
Yes.
And I guess I'm asking from a brother's side because I'm a man,
Yeah.
not a woman.
Yeah, okay.
So
They're worried, they don't want the civil law. Yes.
So my question is this, that why would I get a civil law marriage when I have to stand up in front of witnesses and say I will not marry a second wife? Whether I do that in an Islamic court or a British court, why would I say that or even offer that when that's not something I want to do religiously? That's the first thing. So why would I offer that?
Is that
as
to
a
do
way
with
of
the
thinking?
nikah nama?
No, I'll have my nikah number separate.
Yeah.
But why would I go ahead and get a British civil law
Yes.
when I've made a promise in front of the British government, in front of Her Majesty, if you like, to say I'm not going to take a second wife?
But
'Cause
that's
what British
according
law
to
is.
English law, isn't
Exactly.
it?
So why are you promoting that and taking those rights away from men when I
What
would
right?
argue
Sorry.
that you should not encourage having a civil law? That's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing, to protect the women, surely if they wanted the things you're asking for women, like property, like those rights that the British give, surely there's an opportunity in Islam to put it in the nikah nama anyway. So why would we go for a British law marriage?
Can do. It just means what's happening is people are abusing the system. So what I've seen, for example, is that people don't get married according to English law, and they get properties as a single parent and put it on rent, and they're abusing the council and things like that. But
That's
also,
relatively minor, surely. The point is you're encouraging it for a very minor point.
No, it's not minor.
it's not minor. You know
I think
what
this
it
is a
is?
separate debate, you know.
Yeah, this is not a debate. Basically, I have seen the worst of the worst in my role within the community and my role within as a chaplain. I have seen everything. And the women there is a lot of problems when they have not done the civil marriage in this country, where men have run off with everything. This country does not recognize Islamic law. That's the first thing, okay? So they have left women out in homeless shelters. I know 2 sisters at the moment, it breaks my heart. They are in homeless shelters at the moment because their husband took everything, okay? So if you have living in this country, you have to follow the law of the land. There is no harm in having a civil marriage done as well, because then you are legally married according to this country. Otherwise, you're not legally married. They've been to court, all sorts. The court's not going to listen when you're not married. Do you see? If you want to live in England, then I feel you need to abide by the laws of the land. That's in Islam. You have to abide by the laws of the land. There's no harm in doing both. If she doesn't want to, that's fine. But from my experience, and this is my experience, it is important because I've seen women, it makes my heart cry when I see the situation of some of these women. I was just talking to someone yesterday, she's in a woman's shelter because he just ran off with everything. So I think it's important. Let's have the next question now. Let's have Sister Khadija here. And remember, once the question's done, you take the microphone off. Oh, that's the way it is. That's the rules.
My question is regarding postmenopausal women, and they need to get married, otherwise I'm going to have to fast every day. If you're postmenopausal, what happens then? Nobody's explained this to me.
Yes. That is a very good question, actually. You can marry for protection reasons, okay? So the husband, remember, his other role is to protect you and to be a bodyguard and to help you. Women need mehrams when they go and do Hajj. So for that reason, you can still get married as long as the husband knows that the sexual desires won't be there and there'll be no offspring because it's postnatal. But there could be men in that situation. I do know men in their late 50s who have got remarried ladies who don't want any children, or they've got children from the previous marriages. So on that term, yes, you can. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, let's have Brother Yusuf Jad over here.
So just a practical question that seems to be, you spoke about the women, their spending habits.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Credit cards in their pocket,
yes.
and the husband has to ask the wife for money.
Yeah.
And he's the breadwinner.
But this is quite a, practical problem that the brothers are facing, because it can impact on things like potentially mortgage not being paid, the house being lost, etc., where the woman can be working, and as you said, that her earnings is her money. And I've seen this scenario where time and time again, amongst the brothers crying, as you said, they've got the credit card, and then they're going to buy their designer clothes. That's the word, yes, designer stuff.
I've seen it.
And this translates into obviously practical problems in terms of meeting the bills, keeping the house over, the roof over their head. And then the women are saying that she's working, and she's saying that my money is my money and your money is my money, so she's being extravagant with that.
Yes.
So how does one sort of, and at the same time the Quran says that you have to maintain them, but it does say that what is reasonable. So we find that the ladies aren't coming to reason. And being reasonable. Any special tips you can give us? Because it is a big problem.
Yes, I mean, I did mention that's all within reasonable grounds. If the husband hasn't got the money, then he can't do that, can he?
He can cancel the credit card.
Yeah, you're in front of the thing. He can cancel the credit card. I mean, you have to sit down and you have to negotiate.
It will be a problem.
And designer wear clothes, I'm against anyway. Why not go to Primark? You can get the same clothes in Primark. A third of the cost. Allah doesn't like waste, for example. There are so many Islamic ways that you can explain it, The other problem that I find nowadays, and this is a big problem, is women feel they don't need men anymore because they've already got the job, they've already got the money, they're earning the money in this country, they've already lived out in universities,
Yeah.
they're independent, they know how to live independently. Why do they need a man to marry? They don't need one anymore. So there is another problem there as well. I think that this women power business is getting too much, and I think that if we follow the etiquettes of Islam, it will keep harmony in everything.
So this
And
is
I do think men are weeds. I say this again and again. They let the women walk all over them a lot of the time. This should be established very early on in the marriage. You know, you do what I want to do, but you have to negotiate. I will do what you want to do, but you have to negotiate what I want to do. And a lot of the time the women just want whatever they want. And that is not good either. Like I said, the men have to ask their wives before they go out. And yet they go home and their wives are in Lakeside shopping, you know, having their own life kind of thing. So it's you get married for a reason. You do things together, and that's what makes the marriage a marriage. Okay?
There's a lot of good guys trapped in this scenario, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but I've seen a lot of sisters as well who are suffering so much nowadays as well. It's both. It's both. Right, let's have brother over there in the corner, and then I think we need to eat after that. Last question. Wa alaikum assalam.
My question is regarding in-laws, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law.
Yeah, yeah.
What I observe is most of them give the women so much, they just like 99% hate the wives.
Yes.
So
yes.
In Islam too, we are taught to love our family, to maintain the ties of kinship.
Yeah.
So how do husband balance
right. I'll answer that one.
His in-laws against his wife,
yeah.
trying to please the family and at the same time trying to fulfill his right on his wife as a Muslim?
Yes. Okay. Microphone off. Right. Very, very good question. This is a big problem, actually. First of all, your mother-in-law is not your biological mother, so you do not have the obligation, like in Islam, where you have to respect them and you have to agree with everything and be nice to them. But on the basis that that's your husband's mother, and you will gain good deeds and a nice relationship with your husband, you should still be nice to them, okay? Especially when they are elderly and when they are ill. And there's no harm in living with them for a while as well, as long as you've got your privacy. But mother-in-laws are also at fault because they abuse that situation. They don't treat the daughter-in-laws like their own daughters. Quite a lot of the time, you know, they can be accused of all sorts. Basically, it's another two-way thing. On the whole, if daughter-in-laws are really nice, the mother-in-laws will be nice as well. But you have to also remember that you're gaining the love of your husband. Husbands also need to realize when their mothers are saying something that is totally wrong. I know a mother who accused her daughter-in-law of adultery. Now that is a very big sin. How can then the husband take the side of the mother with that? You can't. So anything that is against Islam, you need to say, and you need to tell your mother, stop, mum. Because you are allowed to talk against your parents when they say something against Islam. Okay? So that is your clue. When they say something against Islam, it's up to the sons to tell them. But as a daughter-in-law, you should still try and respect them.
So what about the sisters-in-law and the brother-in-law?
Same ruling as the mother-in-law. They're not your real biological sisters, but to keep the peace, you have to be nice to them. At the beginning, I talked about marriage, and I said it's a marriage of families, not just a marriage of the couple. In Islam, that is the way it is. Our families are very close-knit, we do live together, and that is the way it is. And the sooner we get grasped to that, the better, really. But if everybody follows Islam, none of this would happen. If everybody followed Islam. Do you know, once you become Islamic, get your whole family to become religious. It works wonders, including your mother-in-law.
The wife tries to be nice to the in-laws and they're avoiding it. Yes. So how can she fulfill the
Yes,
Islamic
exactly.
rights?
It's a two-way process, isn't it? love and affection, it's a two-way process. One person's always bad, you're not going to like them, are you? So it's a two-way process. Okay? Right, I'm going to finish now. Can we make a lovely queue? So the brothers on this side, the sisters on that side, and in a nice civilized manner.
Can we do the sisters eat first, do you think?
No, we'll have it on both sides because I'm going to go on the sister side, you go on the brothers, and we'll serve quickly. Okay? Jazakallah khair. What a brilliant audience you've all been. I actually did have a very big laugh today doing this lecture. There was a lot of laughs.
One question maybe is not
I will answer that over pizzas, okay?